use banner to sign up today.
Is your child tackling new challenges in math this year? Working hard to get ahead of the pack? Here's the good news. There's a secret weapon. Mathnasium, the authority on math education. With over 1,000 learning centers worldwide, we know what it takes to build real confidence in math. Here's what sets us apart. Expert instructors who teach each student individually. No cookie-cutter approach. No rushing through lessons. We create customized learning plans designed specifically for your child's needs, helping them achieve their academic goals, not just this semester, but all year long. Whether they're struggling to catch up or ready to excel, our proven methods work. Kids leave Mathnasium stronger in math, more confident in the classroom, and ready to handle whatever comes next. Visit Mathnasium today and discover why parents trust us with their child's math education. Mathnasium, where kids love math.
Have you ever engaged in conversation about your faith with a family member, a friend, or a colleague, and when challenged on an intellectual level about why you believe what you believe, you've been at a loss for a reasoned answer? The Missing Think, a treatise on origin, purpose, and God by Mark A. Vogel, was written for you, particularly if you don't have a lot of time to sit down and read a lengthy book. A short read, it'll provide you with some thoughtful insight with which to challenge the skeptics in your life with effective and practical critical thinking. It may even strengthen your own faith in God. Seen through the eyes of an inventor and product development engineer, The Missing Think draws analogies to the wonders of the world around us and connects dots to some profound practical and historical evidence for the truth of Christianity. The book is available for download by visiting Amazon.com and searching The Missing Think, Mark A. Vogel. That's Mark, the letter A, V-O-G-E-L. Again, to purchase your copy, go to Amazon.com and in the search box, type The Missing Think, Mark A. Vogel.
Crime is already skyrocketing in 2026. Now, you may already own a firearm, but before you face the financial, the legal, the emotional weight of pulling that trigger, there is new technology, a smarter option. It's non-lethal, BYRNA.com. Berta makes less lethal launchers. It fires tear gas, pepper spray, kinetic rounds. It is designed to stop an attacker for up to 40 minutes. That gives you time to escape. That gives you time to get help without deadly consequences. Now, remember, it fires at 400 feet per second, and it has serious stopping power, enough to shut down a threat very fast without the legal, moral complexity of using lethal force. And every single launcher hand-assembled in beautiful Fort Wayne, Indiana. Legal in all 50 states, no background check, and they'll ship it straight to your door. Just go to BYRNA.com today and find the right launcher for you and your family. That's BYRNA.com.
On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson, and John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party. Sponsored in part by Stephen A. Leahy with Opum Tax Advocates.
It's February 2nd, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is
Punxsutawney Phil.
That's right, woodchuck chuckers. It's Groundhog Day.
That's from the famous Bill Murray comedy Groundhog Day in 1993. Today we turn to a rodent meteorologist in Pennsylvania for the forecast. The first Groundhog Day was celebrated in 1897 at Gobbler's Knob in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. If Phil sees a shadow, it means 6 more weeks of winter. Also on this date, Germany's 6th Army surrenders after the bloody Battle of Stalingrad in 1943. Toy company Hasbro debuts the G.I. Joe line of action figures in 1964. The initial line of figures, a real American hero, represented each of the 4 branches of the military. Born on this day, actress Farrah Fawcett in 1947. Bounty hunter Dwayne the Dog Chapman, born in 1953. I'm CJ Papa. That's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Don't miss Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn every Sunday from 11 to 12. Robert has a different way of looking at retirement from most financial advisors and is happy to share his ideas with you every week. So don't miss what he has to say on AM 560 The Answer. Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn. Sunday mornings from 11 to 12.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Stay tuned for a special message from Angel Dad Joe Abraham about his daughter Katie.
Put yourself in my shoes. I just spent my first Christmas without Katie. My daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant Governor Pritzker protected. Imagine her final breaths, knowing that you would have given your life for hers, but you didn't have the chance. Put your child in Katie's shoes. Think of the unfulfilled dreams, the unrealized joys, and the permanent loss. I'm not a political guy, but when politicians unleash violent criminals, we all need to get involved. We can do better, and we must do better. Ted Dabrowski would have protected Katie, and he'll protect your children the way I wish someone had protected mine.
I'm Ted Dabrowski, and I approve this message.
Ad paid for by Anthem Tax Services. Attention! If you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. The IRS does not joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. If you're tired of the IRS letters, levies, liens, or wage garnishments and would like to get a fresh start, we can help. Due to the financial hardships in the country, the IRS is making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $10,000. We can help settle your delinquent tax problems, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes significantly. Even if you can't afford to pay your back taxes, you can still get the help you need. We've helped thousands of taxpayers just like you, but you must call 800-978-5309 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. The information is free, and the help is real. Call 800-978-5309. That's 800-978-5309. Again, 800-978-5309.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute, we've helped thousands find real relief without surgery. Our non-surgical, FDA-approved treatment uses hyaluronic gel that acts like a cushion between the bones in your knee. As we age, the cushion naturally wears down, causing painful grinding and popping. But our gel restores that cushion, allowing your knee to move smoothly again. Ready to stop the pain and get back to doing what you love? Call the Joint Relief Institute at 708-315-6800. Again, that's 708-315-6800.
Move better, live better with JRI.
Move better and live better with JRI. Contact the Joint Relief Institute today and get back to doing what you love. Call 708-315-6800 or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. Call 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
Hey, it's Mike Gallagher, hoping you'll join me on the unforgettable Gulf of America cruise happening in November of 2026. Imagine this: turquoise waters, white sand beaches, incredible food, insightful conversations about the future of America. Scott Jennings and I will be your hosts. We'll dive into the issues shaping America as we cruise through some of the most stunning destinations while honoring the 250th anniversary of our nation. Book your cabin today. Text the word cruise to 94878. Text cruise to 94878 or visit mikeonline.com.
Mike Lindell has a passion to help people get the best sleep of their life. He started by creating the best pillow ever, and right now he is passing the best prices to you when you use promo code LIBERTY. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get wholesale pricing on the classic My Pillows for $17.98. Transform any mattress with a My Mattress topper and save up to $100. Get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $39.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Rest easy remembering that MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty. Call today, 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY.
If stairs in your home are becoming difficult, there's a practical solution, and it doesn't have to come with pushy salespeople. Access provides dependable stair lifts designed to help you stay safely in the home you love. No gimmicks, no overselling, just honest guidance, quality equipment, and professional local installation. We'll explain your options, work within your budget, and let you decide what's right at your pace. For a straightforward, no-pressure, free in-home consultation, call 630-616-6249 or visit allaboutaccess.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect a few flurries in the morning, followed by mostly cloudy skies with a high of 28. Tonight, anticipate areas of low clouds with a possible flurry late as temperatures drop to a low of 18. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions and cold weather with a high reaching 25. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Don Lemon was ROR'd on Friday, that is. Released on his own recognizance after being arrested for participating in the criminal activity associated with that trespassing, that incursion into City's Church in St. Paul that was devised and carried out by his good friend, Miss Levy Armstrong, also arrested. And after he was released on his own recognizance, a defiant Don Lemon, paragon of journalism, First Amendment champion, had this to say.
I've spent my entire career covering the news. I will not stop now. In fact, there is no more important time than right now, this very moment, for a free and independent media that shines a light on the truth and holds those in power accountable. Again, I will not stop now. I will not stop ever.
Just like Turbo and Ozone. Yo, man. No stopping. Nobody does it better than Don Lemon. There's no stopping love. All right, some Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo trivia. I'll give anyone who actually knows, and don't Google it, code of honor, anyone who knows that one-hit wonder, the band that sang There's No Stopping Us. Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, there's your big clue. Give me that band. 312-642-5600 is Chicago Morning Answer call-in and text line. You can do either. He continued, did Don Lemon.
Last night, the DOJ sent a team of federal agents to arrest me in the middle of the night for something that I'd been doing for the last 30 years, and that is covering the news. The First Amendment of the Constitution protects that work for me and for countless of other journalists who do what I do. I stand with all of them, and I will not be silenced. I look forward to my day in court. Thank you all.
No, thank you. 312-642-5600. Give us a call or text. David Marcus had a good op-ed Fox News at the Fox News website about this. Once the alleged criminal disruption of the church service began, leaving parishioners shocked and shaken amid piercing screams, Lemon tries to suddenly pretend he's just a journalist who stumbled on a story. It's a ridiculous lie. It is in fact very similar to the lie that agitators who physically interfere with ICE operations are just quote-unquote legal observers, not participants in the chaos. During his live stream prior to the disruption of the service, Lemon kept operational security for the group he was supposedly just quote-unquote covering, which crosses the brightest line in journalistic ethics. By allowing himself to be on the agitators' team, as one of them blatantly says on video, Lemon made himself ineligible to cover them, and the bias results inside the church show exactly why. So there's two issues. One is journalistic ethics, if you don't believe that to be an oxymoron. And then secondly is whether or not his unethical behavior is nonetheless protected by the First Amendment. Something that Marcus said in his piece is important, too, because you have to take a step back and go back to, as we did last week, go back to the interview he did with Levy Armstrong, where he says, my friend Levy Armstrong, he tries to give her a kiss on the cheek. She demurs. This is clandestine. They're only going to let me report aspects of this. This is a clandestine thing. And then she goes on to tell him what she's going to do. And then he is in tow as chronicler of their criminal activity upon commission of said activity. As Marcus writes, Lemon could have broken the story, but instead he helped to build it. Yeah, that's what he did. And then there's the other matter of his conduct inside the church, which is a violation of federal statutory law, the FACE Act. And I know this, there was a wonderful effort made by Jen Psaki and others on the cable news shows over the weekend to express bewilderment. Well, the FACE Act, that's to protect access to abortion clinics. Black letter of the FACE Act. 1, the use of physical force, threat of physical force, or physical obstruction to intentionally injure, intimidate, interfere with, or attempt to injure, intimidate, or interfere with any person who is obtaining an abortion. That's a violation. Number 2, pay attention now. The use of physical force, threat of physical force, or physical obstruction to intentionally injure, intimidate, interfere with, or attempt to injure, intimidate, or interfere with any person who is exercising or trying to exercise their First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. I mean, that is black letter statutory law. It couldn't be descriptive of what happened at City's Church with any more specificity. The only question is, does Don Lemon get a pass as a quote-unquote journalist, or was he part of the mob that trespassed and violated federal law, the FACE Act? Well, I think Don Lemon's mens rea is relevant here, too, and he was kind enough to offer it post-arrest. Post-incursion, pre-arrest. Post-incursion, pre-arrest. This is when he went on Jennifer Welch's podcast, who is a profane, vulgar, disgusting human being. But so is Don Lemon. So they are a good tandem. And this is his characterization of those congregants of City's Church who he was just interviewing as a news gatherer, as a chronicler of events. Sure you were.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America.
Sigh. Well, before we take a couple of calls, how about hearing from one of Don Lemon's former colleagues at that propaganda outfit called CNN? Fredo Cuomo, who's tried to reinvent himself, put some distance between himself and his time at CNN. Now that he's over at News Nation, and he's pretending to be some sort of moderate, or maybe he's just a shapeshifter. Whoever pays the check, that's what I'll say. That's the space I'll occupy. I don't know which it is. It doesn't really matter. He has gained no more respect in my eyes from his pivot to the middle. But it is interesting what he had to say here. Apparently, Don and Fredo are not as tight as they once were. And here's his commentary on at least at minimum, the journalistic ethics of Lemon's antics.
Yeah, we used to be close. Now we're not. And there's good reason for that. But it doesn't change my disposition. Two reasons. One, I try very hard not to be like what I oppose, what I am against, or what I didn't like when it was done to me. So I try to treat people better than they treat me. Second, I don't want to see bad things happen to people. And this is a bad thing. It may make him money, may make him a martyr. At the end of the day, it may wind up exploding his relevance and his resonance, thanks to President Trump, ironic. But it's scary having the federal government come after you, even with a case that seems kind of fugazi, in my opinion.
Fugazi. Okay.
You can think what he did was wrong. And
Godfather.
He pushed the boundaries too much and did things that aren't good practices. It doesn't make it a federal crime, let alone under the Ku Klux Klan Act. But I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it the way he did it, and I wouldn't have done it for the reasons he did it.
Dan, Salem, Wisconsin.
Hey, Dad, you know that Jen Psaki, you just quoted her about her telling half-truths about the FACE Act?
Yeah.
This is what the Marxists do, the Leninists do. They tell you half-truths, they tell you lies, and that's why the country's in the state it's in, because they listen to all this left-wing propaganda, Dan. You know it, I know it.
Thanks for the call, Dan. Yeah, so this was the exchange between Abby Lowell. Yes, you remember Abby Lowell from such clients as Baby Boy Hunter. Well, he is Don Lemone's attorney. And he went on Jen Psaki's platform for leftist agitprop on MS Now, NBC, whatever the hell it is. And not only did they both pretend not to know the provision of the FACE Act that I just read you, but of course they took it one step further. Don Lemon is basically Martin Luther King and civil rights protesters from a bygone era.
It has until recently been used to protect people's access to abortion clinics. It feels like it's a new tactic. I don't know that there's a precedent. You tell me. But what do you make of them using that?
Well, I mean, okay, what do we make of the fact that they basically use the Department of Justice not to use the word justice in its title, but to go after the enemies of Donald Trump, whether it be Attorney General Tish James, whether it be Jim Comey, whether it be now going after the ballots in Atlanta, in Fulton County, Georgia. This act is not supposed to be used to arrest journalists for doing their job when journalists, by the way, would be filming a civil rights march, or when journalists are filming what's going on at a church, or even if journalists were basically filming or reporting on what was going on at an abortion clinic. You can decide whether people protesting at those three sites should or should not happen, whether it's part of our precious right to dissent in America. But what you're not supposed to do is not distinguish between people who are covering it versus not. Let me put it this way. Do you remember the television clips that we saw in the 1960s about what was happening in the South during the Civil Rights Movement? One of the things that turned our country around was to be able to see it on their television screens at night when, you know, people were being sprayed with hoses and dogs were being sicked on them in places like Alabama. If those journalists had been subject to what happened today, you might not have ever seen those videos. And how much worse would we have been?
Yeah, it really rises to that level. I mean, the unbelievable self-regard. So, right. Peaceful civil disobedience in the context of the Civil Rights Act and journalists on public property chronicling the police response is the same as Don Lemon participating in a illegal incursion into a private church, not leaving when they were asked to leave, throwing the place up for grabs, separating kids from their families, blocking stairwells, platforming professional agitators. That's the same thing as Martin Luther King and civil rights protesters from a bygone era. They're just so disgraceful. They have just absolutely no dignity and no shame, which, of course, is the no dignity part is one of the fundamental contrasts from Martin Luther King and the civil rights era. Positively dignified people. This is part of a thugocracy. And these phony comparisons, it's not just the lies they tell, it's the false comparisons they make that they get away with in certain circles. It's really despicable. And it cheapens what real civil rights protesters from that era actually did and how they did it. Corey Woodlawn.
Morning, Dan. You know, when Don Lemon entered that church with those agitators, it showed that the liberals.
Well, Corey, did we lose Corey?
Manipulate the news toward their side.
Corey, you cut out for a second there. Repeat what you said. Sorry.
I said that they're to twist the news and manipulate the news toward their side. Them being in that church shows that the liberal media are on the side of the agitators. They're not on the side of the journalists covering stories.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Yeah, and, gosh, I thought no one was above the law, but a journalist is. The FACE Act doesn't apply to journalists. Trespass on private property doesn't apply to journalists. Aiding and abetting assaults, which you could argue was also part of what occurred on that day. If people have a reasonable fear for bodily harm, you don't have to touch them. That's an assault on that day in that church. And all those individuals are above the law. It's funny, I don't hear too much pushback, except from them, about the other three that were arrested that organized this illegal activity. So then it becomes a question of whether or not you think, as we said at the outset, that Lamone was a participant or just a scrivener getting the news out to the larger public. We'll take a look at what he did on that day. It's all documented. And take a look at what he said pre and post. George, Naperville.
Yes, Dan, it's a shame a big name will be tarnished because of all this.
What's the big name?
Yeah, it'll be a shame that we'll lose such a big name.
Oh, yeah. As Don, what are you talking about? He's being, as Fredo said, he's probably going to be martyrized and posterized the "We love you, Don" outside the L.A. courthouse where he was arraigned. By the way, one other thing on this. It would help, in my view, on the Trump administration side, if we get less of the sort of dinner theater version of Dirty Harry and more just, here are the facts. Here is the law. These posts from Pam Bondi, for example, she's not the only one. Cash has done it. Others have done it. The chest beating, the competing chest beating is not the play.
Make no mistake, under President Trump's leadership and this administration, you have the right to worship freely and safely. And if I haven't been clear already, if you violate that sacred right, we are coming after you.
Yeah, okay. Let's just, bring it down. Here's what happened on that day. Here is what the federal law provides. We have made a decision, and we're going to present all the evidence that is in the public domain and perhaps evidence that is not, because we believe that Don Lemon violated the law. So take a look at what he did and take a look at the statutory law, and you make your own decision. We're going to make an argument. Just stop with the under this president and blah. Just get to the fracking point, the substance of it. Spare me your phony, tired efforts for the viral video so somebody can put a chyron on Pam Bondi tortures this and flames that. It's so circus-like. Don't add to the circus. Contrast from it. Good grief. Coming up at 5:38. Speaking of a circus, BLM Brandon, as telegraphed at the National Press Club last week, issues another phony baloney, pointless EO in the direction of ICE. That's 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 23 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The man accused of killing a Downers Grove woman and her unborn baby is back in jail. 19-year-old Natus Revucas was hospitalized on Thursday after he inflicted injuries upon himself. He's due back in court on February 18th. The newest member of the Illinois Supreme Court has been installed. Former Appellate Court Justice Sanjay T. Taylor was sworn in by Chief Justice P. Scott Neville at a ceremony in Chicago on Friday. Taylor joined the court after the retirement of Justice Mary Jane Thies earlier this month. And if you're planning on going out to eat, you might want to watch your cell phone. Chicago police are warning residents after thieves have been targeting restaurant patrons. Officials say the thief begins by distracting the victims by dropping something close to the table where the victim's cell phone is sitting. Then the thief puts a bag over the phone while they're picking up the dropped item, carting away the victim's cell phone while they're distracted. This report is sponsored by Supershore. Do you own a small business? Well, you need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get Supershore. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but super sure. The seismic shift is coming. Super sure coming soon.
On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson, and John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones agent Nolan Webster.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Hello, can I have your attention, please? My name is Hugh McKenzie, and I'm a devout listener of The Answer. They have partnered with Food for the Poor consistently for the last few years. In the past, I've always wanted to participate, but unfortunately never had the extra cash at the end of the year to do so. But last weekend, I received the mail, and there was a bonus check for $2,500 from Mack Truck for selling commercial vehicles. I decided that I was all in. As I mentioned, I sell commercial vehicles. Everything from Mack, Volvo, Hino, Isuzu, new and used. I've been selling for over 30 years in the Chicagoland market. Call me at 630-918-9534 or check me out on the web. Google my name, Hugh McKenzie, and Hugh is spelled H-U-G-H, McKenzie is spelled M-C-K-E-N-T-Y. All right, thank you very much for your time.
To contact Hugh McKenzie, search Hugh McKenzie on LinkedIn or call 630-918-9534. That's 630-918-9534.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters. Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer.
40,000 people. That's enough to pack Wrigley Field. I'm talking about 40,000 people who realized hip and knee surgery wasn't their only option. There has to be another way. Guess what? There is. They found it at QC Kinetics, an alternative to surgery. I know this because I've met these patients. They are moving better and hurting less thanks to QC Kinetics' advanced regenerative treatments. Surgery isn't always the answer. Do your research and talk with my friends at QC Kinetics. They offer natural treatments backed by real science. They will activate your body's natural healing power. Safe, natural, non-surgical. Osteoarthritis only gets worse, so don't wait. Get started this month. 40,000 people can't be wrong. Before you choose surgery, talk with QC Kinetics and tell them Dan Proft sent you. That's me. Call today, 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
Welcome back to Ask Hassellus.
I give up. Where are they?
Who?
Hassellus Mattress employees.
Hassellus Mattress showrooms really are employee-free. Give our mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy.
Don't believe it.
You won't believe our prices either. Beauty Rest, Sealy Posturepedic, and more for way less. Free next day delivery, too.
Sure. there. Next, you'll say I can get a free adjustable base with my purchase through Monday.
As a matter of fact, yes.
Oh, come on!
Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselist.com.
Active Liver from New Nordic protects your liver so you can enjoy life to the fullest. Online at Amazon or in stores at CVS, Wegmans, and now GNC.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect a few flurries in the morning with mostly cloudy skies for the rest of the day. The temperature will reach a high of 28. Tonight, there will be areas of low clouds with a chance of a flurry or two later on. The low will be around 18. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions and cold weather with a high of 25. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress, and AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party.
Let's go stop and Don Lemon. I did ask for anybody who could name that one-hit wonder. Pretty good guess, 815, Ashford and Simpson. That would have made them a two-hit wonder because, of course, they had Solid as a Rock. That's what this love is. That's what we got. No, not Ashford and Simpson. I'll leave it open for a minute. Again, now, come on, Code of Honor, no Googling. It's really a one-hit wonder. You have to know this. You have to have been a child of the 80s, interested in breakdancing, conflicted between whether you wanted to emulate Ozone or Turbo after that movie. Perhaps a Shaka Khan fan. She's featured. Breakin' 2. I did say something about Bondi and the chest beating on the right, all this tough talk under this administration. When there's something specific to address, can you just address the specifics? Here are the facts. Here's the law. We're applying the latter to the former. We don't need the dinner theater Dirty Harry, as I said. And, of course, that drew a bunch of people texting I know what you're thinking. Did I fire 5 shots or 6? Well, I've kind of forgotten all the excitement. And then the whole 44 Magnum, blow your head clean off. Yeah. Not going to do the Dirty Harry drop, but I do stand by the comments with respect to Bondi and so many on the right and these sycophants that get hyperventilate over positively anodyne chest beating that is without point. It's like bad WWE. I expect a little bit more from people in serious positions. Sorry. Somebody got it. Unbelievable. I didn't think anybody would. Ollie and Jerry. It is Ollie and Jerry. 224. Well done. I'm going to assume, because you listen to this show, you are a person of honor and you did not look that up. But that's a big poll. Very good. All right. Boy, I can't slip one past this audience. All right, let's talk about BLM Brandon, since we're sort of on the topic of federal law enforcement, particularly with respect to people in this country illegally. He spent last week, along with Jelly Belly, JB and BJ, their tandem. There is no daylight between them on this issue, and as most issues. Progressive revenue sources, meaning endless tax increases. Abortion on demand, kill him in the womb, get him to the tomb earlier, euthanasia. I mean, all the things. Blank checks to teachers' unions, mutilating children. Give me an issue where there's separation between the two. I really don't. Safety Act. Where's their separation? The only separation between the two is their net worth. That's it. Really. BLM Brandon issued this executive order after, what was it, 4 or 5 months ago after Operation Midway Blitz, or during it, ICE may not use city property for staging areas and so on and so forth. He's got a new one. Here it is.
The ICE on notice executive order is a step towards justice. This executive order will make Chicago the first city in the country to set the groundwork to prosecute ICE and Border Patrol agents for criminal misconduct. Because we need to send a clear message. If the federal government will not hold these rogue actors accountable, then Chicago will do everything in our power to bring these agents to justice. Yes. As part of this order, our police department will document ICE and Border Patrol activity and attempt to identify officers on the scene. This evidence will then be preserved and, at the direction of my office, will be referred to the state's attorney's office for potential prosecution. The Trump administration has made it clear that they intend to return to our city in force in the coming spring. This order is a step towards making sure that Chicago is prepared. We will continue to learn from and work with other cities across the country as we all confront this moment. As Dr. King predicted more than 60 years ago, Chicago can serve as a model of nonviolent resistance that has the power to arouse the conscience of the nation. And so today, we see a full manifestation of the consciousness of our nation coming to life by way of the greatest city in the world, the city of Chicago.
Yeah. He also said, did BLM Brandon, of the Cook County State's Attorney, Eileen, O'Malley, Daly, Burke, Madigan, O'Shaughnessy, O'Halloran, O'Neill, Burke, that her office is in complete support of this executive order. In fact, what she has said, her office has said repeatedly, the reason why she has not moved forward with prosecutions is because no evidence has been provided to her. Our office worked closely in collaboration with the state's attorney's office to ensure that this executive order will have the ability to do exactly what it is designed to do. We worked in collaboration with the state's attorney's office, the police department, our law department. All of us work together. We don't do sloppy work. We're not raggedy. We don't do sloppy work. We do our work around here. There's too much at stake. Interesting. Interesting because that's not what the Cook County State's Attorney's Office said. In fact, Eileen O'Neill Burke wrote, Mayor Johnson's statement is not true. The Cook County State's Attorney's Office did not receive the executive order until it was released to the public. We do not provide legal approval on any matter until we've reviewed it. On such a critical issue, it is important we get it right. So, we collaborated with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, and the Cook County State's Attorney's Office is saying we didn't see it until it was released to the public. There was no collaboration and no review. But other than that, sure. Okay. Bill in LaSalle County, here in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi. You're probably familiar with a young lady named Caitlin Bennett from Florida. Well, she was a woman who graduated from Kent State and wore an AR-10 at her graduation ceremony. Well,
I vaguely remember that.
She's a social media activist. 11 days ago, she was covering a protest against ICE in St. Augustine, Florida, and the National Park Service, at the behest of a 10-year professional communist activist, asked the National Park Service for her to leave and stop interviewing her people. And then she ended up getting ticketed and charged with a federal crime because she refused to leave the area where they told her she had to stay out of, interviewing other people. So her First Amendment rights as a journalist were thoroughly impinged on. And I encourage everybody to look that video up.
Thanks for the call, Bill. I mean, right. So as the First Amendment rights of conscience, those congregants at City's Church were violated on that day in question. Yeah, I mean, so, right. So, here's the thing, and it's the same thing with his executive order. I'm talking about BLM Brandon's and the whole posture. You're seeing this everywhere. My triple threat, announced last year. She was standing up some repository of reports and evidence to be used at a later date against ICE. You're hearing this everywhere. Newly minted governor of New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill, said the same thing.
I've already met with AG. We are putting out information on helping New Jerseyans know their rights. We are not going to allow any ICE raids to be staged from state properties. And we are also going to be standing up a portal so people can upload all their cell phone videos and alert people. Like, if you see an ICE agent in the street, get your phone out.
Yes.
We want to know. Because they have not been forthcoming. They will pick people up. They will not tell us who they are.
Right.
They will not tell us if they're here legally. They won't check. They'll pick up American citizens. They picked up a 5-year-old child. We want documentation, and we are going to make sure we get it.
The 5-year-old child thing is such a tell in terms of the agitprop and the dishonesty of these people. Such a tell, since we know the story of the Ramos kid. And it's the way they're characterizing it is purposely false. They know it to be false. They don't care. But the point of all this is not no one is above the law, as they like to say, is that no one is beyond their reach. That's what they really mean. And so they're going to attempt to criminalize law enforcement, at least with respect to ICE and CBP and DHS generally, the same way they tried to criminalize and have, in many respects, criminalized political disagreement. Every attempt is to criminalize things that are part of our God-given rights, as enshrined in the Constitution. But you have to do it under sort of the phraseology of the founders. Save our democracy. No one is above the law. You do it under the slogans. You do completely unconstitutional, illegal, intemperate, and ugly things, and you cover it with slogans. You are not beyond it's not above the law. It's you are not beyond our reach for punishment, for wrongthink, for law enforcement where we don't want laws enforced. Jeff, Northwest Side.
Hi, I just wanted to comment on the Pam Bondi thing. I think she's trying to still save face from the Epstein file release debacle. That's all.
Yeah, maybe that's part of it. Thanks for the call, Jeff. Whatever it is, it's an ineffective way to do it. This back and forth that we'll get to, I mean, this whole push to criminalize federal law enforcement when it comes to immigration laws because they don't like immigration laws. They sort of tell you they don't like immigration laws when they say we're a sanctuary with respect to the enforcement of immigration law. That's sort of a tell. And now they're shutting down the government, this partial shutdown theater over, the reforms that they demand. And Hakeem Jeffries, the really incapable minority leader. I mean, good grief. If this guy gets the speaker's gavel, the good news is he's a buffoon. He's not, so he'll be less effective than somebody who's actually skilled in the dark arts of politics would be, but listen to this guy talk. Good grief. On This Week, here are his reform demands to keep DHS funded.
The Department of Homeland Security needs to be dramatically reformed. We share that view, as does Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats, in a variety of different ways. Body cameras should be mandatory. Masks should come off. Judicial warrants should absolutely be required, consistent with the Constitution in our view. before DHS agents or ICE agents are breaking into the homes of the American people or ripping people out of their cars. We need to make sure that there are complete and independent investigations so that when ICE or DHS agents break the law, they are held accountable, not by the Department of Justice, which has no interest in actually conducting a fair investigation in our view, but by state and local authorities. And we need to reiterate that the detention and deportation of American citizens off the table and using taxpayer dollars to brutalize everyday Americans or violently target law-abiding immigrant families needs to be off the table.
That's a list. Yeah, right. So, I mean, they don't use warrants. It's all like extra legal, extrajudicial, black ops operations. It's just nonsense. And by the way, the good news is, despite some of the toned down rhetoric coming from Trump and the administration after he sent Holman to Minnesota last week, the operations will continue. And Holman was on Hannity on Friday, making sure that was clear, speaking with moral clarity on these issues in a substantive way, as Tom Homan does, which is why Tom Homan really should be the face of this, because he's just so knowledgeable and he's such a good communicator on the substance of the matter, as he was on Friday night on Hannity.
President Trump's backing off on his promise of mass deportation. That's just untrue. My message up there was the same message that's been since January 20th, when President Trump took the Oval Office. We're going to have a mass deportation, but we're going to prioritize the arrest of criminals and public safety threats. I'd said from day one, if you're in the country legally, you're not off the table. I looked at the numbers just about 15 minutes ago, Sean. President Trump's been in office just over a year. We got over 700,000 deportations between the Border Patrol and ICE. That's a record. You know, I've been in D.C. about 15, 16 years. You know, I've overseen more deportations than any other man since the Eisenhower administration. So if anybody thinks that Tom Homan and President Trump isn't serious about immigration enforcement and having a mass deportation, then they weren't paying attention to the press conference.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. And by the way, with respect to Hakeem Jeffries and his laundry list of demands, you know, at the state level, some of these things have been implemented, but they're not being enforced. For example, one of their rallying cries, first everybody put your mask on, now ICE agents take your masks off. And people like Seth Moulton calling ICE agents who wear masks to cover their identity cowards, even though you see pictures of ICE agents on light poles in these lawless sanctuary city jurisdictions, putting a target on their backs. In California, there's a state law that was passed. It's constitutionally dubious, to say the least. ICE agents can't wear masks. Well, Jim McDonnell is the police chief in L.A. LAPD police chief Jim McDonnell. Here's what he had to say when the question was, are you enforcing the no masks law against ICE agents?
The reality of one armed agency approaching another armed agency to create conflict over something that would be a misdemeanor at best or an infraction, it doesn't make any sense.
Chief McDonnell went on to say the state's federal mask ban is not a good public policy decision, adding, in his opinion, it was not well thought out due to the possibility of conflict between law enforcement agencies. The ban on face coverings, known as the No Secret Police Act, was introduced following immigration raids across Southern California that began last summer.
Thankfully, we have men and women in uniform in places like L.A. that have common sense where their elected betters do not. Chris, Rogers Park.
Hey, Dan, I appreciate your comment earlier about Bondi and the tough guy talk. I think we got to be really careful here. They got to keep it professional. I mean, it's fun and everything with the memes. I mean, I actually enjoy it. But you got to think about the other way. Just look at Brandon Johnson, how much you hate that guy, how annoying he is. He's sitting there, he's copying Trump. He's sitting at a desk with all these people around him signing executive orders. And it's just going to be a copycat that you hate that boomerangs around and does it to you. So you got to keep it professional.
Yeah, well, right. This is not, We don't need Mean Gene Okerlund presiding over overheated rhetoric from two phony combatants, frankly, putting on a phony fight, which is so many of these fights are, frankly. It just, yes, exactly. When they come with the unhinged histrionics, you come with a room temperature substance. That's how you provide contrast. It's not that complicated. Speaking of the Epstein files, as one caller mentioned earlier, we'll go over the latest tranche that was released at 6:06. It's now 6 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
The government shutdown won't end today. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, but House Speaker Mike Johnson hopes they can end it tomorrow, telling Fox News Sunday.
The bills that have already been passed, we're going to do it again. It's a formality at this point.
At issue, a Senate compromise that funds the government through September, except for Homeland Security, which would only get 2 weeks as Democrats demand immigration enforcement reform. Fox's Bill Malugin reports from the Capitol.
House Democrats say they will not help House Republicans use an expedited process to have a vote today on passing this package of government spending bills that were passed by the Senate last week. This expedited process is known as suspension, and that would have required Democratic votes. Instead, the House is going to have a complicated procedural vote later today known as a rule.
As Democrats demand ICE reform, Senator Chris Murphy he also tells Fox News Sunday.
In Texas, they're violating people's rights every single day. They're locking up hundreds and hundreds of children. They are traumatizing 2-year-olds and 5-year-olds for no reason.
Over the weekend, the federal judge ordered a 5-year-old boy and his father, controversially detained last month in Minnesota, to be released, and they were flown back home. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt tells Fox.
We've heard despicable rhetoric from people on the left comparing ICE to the Nazi Gestapo, Donald Trump's police force. That is egregious language that has led to the increase in violence, threats, and attacks.
And there was more anti-ICE commentary last night at the Grammys on CBS.
I'm going to say ICE out.
Bad Bunny said that after he won Album of the Year.
We're not savage. We're not animals. We're not aliens. We are humans.
Others wore ICE out buttons. Billie Eilish also spoke out. She won Song of the Year. Kendrick Lamar got the Grammy for Record of the Year. President Trump reacted on Truth Social, calling the Grammy Awards the worst, virtually unwatchable. And he ranted about the host Trevor Noah, threatening to sue him over a comment the president had been to Epstein Island. The Trump Post called that wrong, and the link to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein false and defamatory. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 24 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Illinois state lawmakers are considering legislation that would limit what recipients of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP program, can purchase. It's a proposal supporters say encourages healthier choices, while critics are worrying about access and affordability. Katrina Barker has the story.
Senate Bill 2908, introduced by State Senator Neil Anderson, would direct the Illinois Department of Human Services to seek federal approval to bar SNAP benefits from being used on candy, sugary drinks, and other highly processed foods. Anderson said the bill has been necessary for quite a while to ensure taxpayer dollars for SNAP aren't being spent on junk food.
They are getting the best food possible nutritionally, so that they're not chronically ill.
Anderson emphasized that the bill does not take away personal choice.
Doesn't mean that people can't buy sugary snacks or soda. They would just have to do so with their own money and not SNAP.
I'm Katrina Barker.
The man accused of killing a Downers Grove woman and her unborn baby is back in jail. 19-year-old Natus Revucas was hospitalized on Thursday after he inflicted injuries upon himself. Jail officials say he was transported back to the DuPage County Jail on Sunday after being released from the hospital. Police say the teen cried as he confessed to the brutal killing following his arrest. Revucas is back due in court on February 18th. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party. And you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquet and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson, and John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party. Sponsored in part by Stephen A. Leahy with Opum Tax Advocates. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. Fearless conversations and sharp analysis of the stories that matter. It's the Aaron Mullins Show, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
In the wake of what's just occurred in Venezuela, when we look at what might be happening in Iran, when we look at some other countries who might have all of a sudden not feel as secure as they once did, I'm trying to find the downside here. I get the cheerleading because it's bloody awesome.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
What's wrong?
I have the flu. Or are you pretending to be sick so you can lie around on the SB 9000 sofa?
One of Penny Mustard's most comfortable sofas.
Please let me suffer in peace. Come on, fess up. Fine, I'm not sick. I just wanted to spend the afternoon on the SB 9000.
You had me going.
Really?
In fact, oh no, I think I'm coming down with something too.
The SB 9000 sofa, starting at $33.93 at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Hey, it's Mike Gallagher, hoping you'll join me on the unforgettable Gulf of America cruise happening in November of 2026. Imagine this: turquoise waters, white sand beaches, incredible food, insightful conversations about the future of America. Scott Jennings and I will be your hosts. We'll dive into the issues shaping America as we cruise through some of the most stunning destinations while honoring the 250th anniversary of our nation. Book your cabin today. Text the word cruise to 94878. Text cruise to 94878 or visit MikeOnline.com.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Got a very serious accident on the westbound side of the Jane Addams at Barrington Road. All lanes are closed. This accident involves 2 tractor trailers, lots of police activity, lots of emergency vehicles. Traffic is being forced off at Barrington Road. You can re-enter the westbound side via the Barrington Road entrance ramp, but you definitely want to avoid this area of the Jane Addams. Now, the good news is the Edens is just 14 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose, 8 minutes in both directions on the Kennedy. From Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, just 14 minutes in both directions on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the old post office. No major slowdowns on the Stevenson. Inbound is 25 minutes from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 18. This report is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a few flurries in the morning with mostly cloudy skies for the rest of the day. The temperature will reach a high of 28. Tonight, there will be areas of low clouds with a chance of a flurry or two later on. The low will be around 18. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions and cold weather with a high of 25. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by In the Know with Craig Bolanos, powered by VestGen Wealth Partners, Sunday morning at 10 on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, the Epstein files. 3.5 million documents, 180,000 images, 2,000 videos released by the federal government. And do we have anything more than another series of salacious allegations combined with a recycling of old salacious allegations? It doesn't seem like it to me. It doesn't. Trump was asked about the mentions of him in some of what was released. He was on Air Force One, I think coming back from staff for Dan Scavino's wedding. And he said this about Michael Wolff and perhaps Epstein's estate. They're going to be a target of a president who's not afraid to be litigious, based on some of what has been disclosed.
Well, they should be, because it looked like this guy Wolff was a writer, was conspiring with Epstein to do harm to me. And I didn't see it myself, but I was told by some very important people that not only does it absolve me, it's the opposite of what people were hoping, you know, the radical left, that Wolff was a third-rate writer, was conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to hurt me, politically or otherwise, and that came through loud and clear. So we'll probably sue Wolff on that. And maybe the Epstein estate, I guess. I don't know, but we're going to certainly sue them. You want to sue the Epstein estate? Well, you may. I guess so, because he was conspiring with Wolff to do harm to me politically. That's not a friend.
Yeah, well, that's not a friend. This was in reference to email exchanges released that are not new, by the way, and I don't know if there's a cause of action here in addition to statute of limitations issues. Wolff wrote an email to Epstein December of 2015. I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on a plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. You know, the private conspiracy to compromise Trump. Again, I don't know what the cause of action would be there, or even if you have even if you had one, if it's within the statute of limitations. This is 11 years old now. But the whole point of this, the salacious disclosures, the allegation that Bill Gates got STD from Russian prostitutes and was going to have Melinda take antibiotics to try to cover up and, prevent exposure to her of his STD. And I mean, there's all sorts of wild things in here that involve British lords and Middle Eastern theocrats and Tiger Woods and New York Mayor Zoran the Commie's mom, who attended one of Epstein's parties, and crown princes of Scandinavian countries, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I go back to something that Matt Taibbi wrote on this. The Epstein saga is the worst reported story of all time. The worst reported story of all time. The world's leading news organizations on a regular basis print easily debunked untruths, crucial details like a federal case built on a recovered memory, the chief accuser being an epic fabulist, or nearly $1 billion in civil claims won by quote-unquote survivors, who themselves may have been professional recruiters, as one victim put it to him, are left out of the coverage. Almost all of the drama is concerned in the expectation of revelations around things that still rhetorically still theoretically, I should say, still theoretically could be true, like underage hijinks with a Clinton or a Trump, or an arrangement with Mossad. But the absence of evidence of these things is rarely reported. Inconvenient facts excised, reporters have used remaining details to build the mother of conspiracy tales, a keyhole through which the world may see all the secrets except the evidence doesn't support the marquee. On closer examination, most elements of popular belief about the Epstein collapse, leaving a manic, breathlessly wrong legend that's on track to be remembered as the combination of Salem and the protocols of the elders of Zion. And he goes through, sort of what's really there. As we went through this with Matthew Cottinelli and others after the last round of disclosures that were, again, salacious allegations, thin on evidence that don't go anywhere, which is why how this was handled by the Trump administration still baffles me. Yes, there are salacious allegations of Trump against Trump, but those are completely unsubstantiated. And since they've been circulating for the better part of a decade at least, and 3 presidential campaigns, you think if the other side had the goods on any of these salacious allegations against Trump, you think they would have delivered them? Of course they would. Of course they would have. Which is not a novel observation, but it bears repeating now that another 3.5 million documents and 2,000 videos and 180,000 images, and what are we left with? More, smoke. And I mean, look, certainly a belief that there were other bad actors, other predators involved here than Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. But building a case, at least a criminal case, is much more complicated than that. And, Ghislaine Maxwell, too, she alleged before this latest release, there were 25 individuals, including 4 Epstein staffers, who got secret deals to avoid prosecution, and she's the fall guy. But there's no names named. So, the whole thing just strikes me as terribly frustrating. I think it does speak to why people have fixated on this, not just because you have allegations from women that they were abused, they were criminally exploited, and they deserve, justice under the law, like Shantae Davies, who, when they had the press conference in Massey, and MTG and Ro Khanna had the press conference outside the Capitol toward the end of last year, all these allegations were sort of re-paraded out into public. And of course, if somebody was sexually exploited, you want justice for that person.
Epstein surrounded himself, with the most powerful leaders of our country and the world. He abused not only me, but countless others, and everyone seemed to look away. The truth is, Epstein had a free pass. He bragged about his powerful friends, including our current president, Donald Trump. It was his biggest brag, actually. And while what I endured will haunt me forever, I live every day with PTSD. I live as a mother trying to raise my child while distrusting a world that has betrayed me. This kind of trauma never leaves you. It breaks families apart. It shapes the way we see everyone around us. But one thing is certain. Unless we learn from this history, monsters like Epstein will rise again. There are files, government files, that hold the truth about Epstein, who he knew, who owed him, who protected him, and why he was allowed to operate for so long without consequence. Why was Maxwell the only one held accountable when so many others played a role? Why does the government hide this information from the public? This secrecy is not protection, it's complicity. And as long as the truth is buried, justice will remain out of reach. That is why this bill matters. Passing it will, bless you, ensure that the suffering of survivors is not in vain. Passing it will bring accountability, transparency, and prevention. It will help protect the next generation of predators who seek to place themselves above the law through wealth, influence.
That's all well and good as sort of general statements of principle, but the victims don't connect the dots. The alleged conspirators like Ghislaine Maxwell don't connect the dots, and nobody in law enforcement has connected the dots either, other than to Jeffrey Epstein himself. Going back to Taibbi's reporting, in the phase of this saga since 2019, the Epstein legend has built up to fantastic dimensions via serial abuse and misuse of words like pedophile, ring, blackmail, intelligence, and global. No term has done more damage than trafficker. A lot of mischief is around that word and the confusion around the two indictments, said one source close to the case. November 18th of last year, press conference at the Capitol. NBC ran a piece about the event, which involved 4 people who previously accused Trump of sex offenses, announcing they'd signed a letter sent by 4 relatives of Virginia Giuffre, who is an Epstein accuser who died by suicide in April. It featured a picture of Epstein accuser Annie Farmer over a caption describing how she, Farmer, spoke to other survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring. On that sex trafficking ring, alleged, Epstein abused a large number of girls. This is Taibbi's reporting. Though how the FBI came up with the claim that he harmed over 1,000 victims remains unclear. But was he operating a quote-unquote ring? There's a ton of evidence of encounters of a certain type. The common theme in stories about Epstein's behavior, particularly in Palm Beach, is one in which he solicited local girls for activities that range from massages by girls clad in underwear only to watching girls touch each other or perform sex acts on one another. There are comparatively few stories about intercourse, but there is a confirmed case of trafficking to a third party in the Epstein record. But is there a confirmed case of trafficking to a third party in the Epstein record? And Taibbi writes, no, not even close. Even the second Epstein indictment for sex trafficking conspiracy doesn't make an accusation of trafficking to anyone but himself. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of trafficking, but Epstein never had a chance to be convicted of that second offense. This hasn't stopped the world's biggest news agencies from regularly using the term, none more aggressively than NPR. Go back to 2019 and you'll see this station did a story about how the, quote, convicted sex trafficker was found unresponsive in his cell, unquote. Last January, they did a show on, quote, a fresh round of conspiracy theories tied to the convicted sex trafficker. This July of 2025, they described Trump promising to release documents about, quote, the late tycoon and convicted sex trafficker. Then the same month did a feature about Trump hand-bonding the truth about the convicted sex trafficker. You can find examples all over the place. America's public news stations constantly misidentifies Epstein's legal status. This is not to defend him or Ghislaine Maxwell. Of course, this is just to say what is true, what is known, what has been proven, and what has not. But it is bedeviling to reasonable people, myself included, because you know these are bad people that ran in the most powerful circles in the globe, and certainly have good reason to believe they were engaged in depraved acts. And they were able to close ranks and prevent anybody really, except maybe for Prince Andrew, from suffering real consequences. I mean, Epstein, Maxwell, Prince Andrew. You know, all the swirl around the Clintons or other people is just that, swirl. And you'll recall this was Kash Patel's testimony back in September of last year, in part exchanges before both the Senate and House Judiciary Committees. First, Kash Patel in discussion with Louisiana Senator John Kennedy.
You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay.
And of course, there were more heated exchanges, but with, the Dem socialists like that putty-faced Pramila Jayapal. But it all comes back to the same deal.
Some of them have never testified before. If you are so interested in getting the public to submit any information, why have you not met with them? You said you haven't met with them. Have you met with them? I'll give you one more chance.
My job as the FBI director is to invite all investigative
yes or no
leads.
to whether or not you met with these women who were sexually abused and raped?
Any insinuation by you or any
What
people
is
on
the
your
an-
side that I am not manhunting child predators and sex traffickers, just look at the
Mr.
stats.
Patel,
And you talk
Mr.
about
Chairman,
cover-ups, man.
Mr. Chairman,
you
this
talk
is
about
my time,
cover-ups.
and I will take
Why
as much time as
Where
I
were
want.
you during the
Instruct
Obama
the
and Biden
witness, Mr.
administrations
Chairman.
when these so-called
Instruct the
cover-ups were
witness.
going on?
Mr.
Why did
Chairman.
anyone in those administrations talk to any of these
Mr.
purported
Chairman.
witnesses?
Let's
I
get
have
some regular
welcomed
order, Mr.
every
Chairman.
single person to provide credible information.
So I think, as we discussed at the time, there was what people like Cash and Bongino thought was there and that the Bidens were hiding to protect their friends, and what turned out to be there once they got into those positions of authority such that they could review all of the available documentation. And, you just have a lot of individuals that have looked at this that I think do have some credibility on the issue, including Matt Taibbi, who's, I think, performed pretty ably as an investigative reporter from the Russian collusion hoax to present, and who have no incentive to be flacking for any of these people for whom there is a swirl around. But if you can't make it out, you can't make it out. If it isn't there, you can't invent it. From a criminal law enforcement perspective, the associations, the insinuations of nefarious activity, of sexual exploitation of young girls, don't discount them. I don't discount all those settlements. But in terms of what people expected would come, which is a reckoning for powerful people, you still have to produce the evidence that can clear the reasonable doubt standard. And it doesn't sound like anybody has that, including Ghislaine Maxwell, who has the most incentive to cut herself a better deal by naming names and presenting evidence and providing a roadmap. And whether in private or public, well, I guess at this point, private testimony, what have we gotten from her? It feels a little bit like Rod Blagojevich after he went away and he was going to write his book and he was going to expose all the corrupt dealings of a Mike Madigan and take down the whole power structure. And then he wrote his book, and what was in it? Nothing. He didn't have the goods. And it seems to me that Ghislaine Maxwell doesn't either. And the FBI didn't have them before Trump, and they don't have them with Trump. So what do you do? The problem, of course, is because of this was handled so poorly, there has even more increased suspicion and conspiracy theorizing, as Matt Taibbi details in his very good piece from the end of last year. It's understandable, but it's not a substitute for evidence. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Seth Leibson for Townhall.com. Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes once postulated that certain irresponsible eloquence may set fire to reason. This is why Chuck Schumer was roundly denounced for publicly threatening Justices Kavanaugh and Gorsuch that they wouldn't know what hit them and would release a whirlwind if they ruled in a way the left didn't want. Still, assassination attempts did follow. Now, the District Attorney of Philadelphia told an anti-ICE rally, and I quote, "If we have to hunt you down the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will find your identities, we will find you, we will achieve justice." This comes after 2 anti-ICE rioters were already killed and after violent attacks against ICE agents have soared. The Philadelphia DA is openly engaging in homicidal fantasy and encouragement. Tim Walz has speculated this could be a Fort Sumter moment. Again, his words referring to events that ignited the Civil War. These Democratic leaders are setting fire to reason. They are not merely being irresponsible, they will cause more bloodshed. They must stop. I'm Seth Leibson.
Are you confident your IT systems are rock solid? There could be cracks you don't see. Don't leave your technology to chance. Take the Access One $10,000 challenge to find out. For more than 30 years, Access One has helped businesses strengthen their security, protect their data, and improve resistance to cyber vulnerabilities, all with reliable U.S.-based support. And here's their promise. If their experts cannot identify at least one measurable improvement to your IT systems and processes based on NIST or CIS regulations, they will award your compliance excellence with $10,000, $10,000. This free confidential risk assessment is available to businesses with 25 to 500 employees, and it's a great way to verify your IT is secure and efficient. No gimmicks, just proven results from an experienced IT partner. Ready to put Access One to the test? Why not? Visit accessoneInc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555 to schedule your risk assessment today. That's accessoneInc.com or call 800-654-1555. Certain conditions apply. See details online.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
Let me tell you, Chicago gets cold, very cold, and they love me in Chicago. The fake news isn't reporting it, but it's true. And you can't have your furnace fail in Chicago. That's no good.
That's when you should call Air Right Heating and Cooling.
The technicians, beautiful people. You're freezing, everybody's freezing. They show up fast, know what they're doing, and get the heat back on quickly.
Air Right Heating and Cooling offers 24/7 service throughout Chicagoland.
A broken furnace in Chicago is like living in Greenland. And believe me, I know Greenland. Very cold, lots of ice. These guys install the best furnaces. Frankly, it's not even close. Even Rosie O'Donnell would say I'm right, but she won't.
For fast, reliable heating service, trust Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you and save $56 off any service.
Nobody's ever done anything like that. Unbelievable.
Visit them at air-right.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Doing it right since 1959.
Honey, I can't deal with this kitchen anymore. It's cramped and everything is outdated.
I know, but it makes no sense to move. I could call my contractor buddy Chad.
Babe, you've seen Chad's house, right?
Yeah, good point.
Plus, he showed up late for his own wedding. Let's get someone who's reliable.
How about Forever Remodeling? They have a team of interior designers, master installers, and project managers all under one roof.
Their reviews on Google look amazing, and homeowners post a ton of pictures of their work.
It looks like they even offer 3D rendering of their projects.
Just like my TV design shows.
Exactly.
Plus, AM 560 listeners get a free in-home design consultation.
From kitchens to bathrooms, basements to whole homes, the design build team at Forever Remodeling takes the stress out of remodeling. They're done on time and guaranteed to match your vision. Visit them online at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 6:36, we'll speak with Eric Humskes. He's Department of War. We'll talk sanctuary cities and the rule of law when it comes to immigration. That's 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 23 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The man accused of killing a Downers Grove woman and her unborn baby is back in jail. 19-year-old Nadis Revucas was hospitalized Thursday after inflicting injuries upon himself. He was released from the hospital yesterday afternoon. Police say the teen cried as he confessed to the brutal killing following his arrest. He's due back in court on February 18th. The latest homeless morbidity and mortality report from the Illinois Department of Public Health shows that persons experiencing homelessness are much more likely to face emergency department visits, hospitalizations, and premature death than the public at large. Nearly 3,000 deaths involving homeless people were reported in Illinois from 2017 to 2025, with an average age of death nearly 20 years younger than the general population. This news is a service of the Chicago Wolves. Chicago Wolves hockey returns to Allstate Arena on Saturday Saturday, February 14th with the Wolves' annual Faith and Fellowship Night and Teddy Bear Toss. Join the Chicago Wolves for some fun hockey when they play the Colorado Eagles, and stay for the post-game Faith and Fellowship Q&A with Wolves star Josiah Slavine. A Check of the Roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson, and John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones agent Nolan Webster.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Nolan Webster. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, let's work together to help ensure you're prepared for your journey. After all, retirement isn't the end of the trek, it's a new beginning. Stop by our office in Palatine or call 224-801-6107. That's 224-801-6107. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
File your taxes for free with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. Just file on your own in the Credit Karma app by February 28th. Valid for those who didn't file with TurboTax last year.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. We are shut down on the westbound side of the Jane Addams at Barrington Road with an accident, a very serious accident involving 2 tractor trailers. This is at Barrington Road where you are being forced off of the roadway. You can get back on via the Barrington entrance ramp, but it is just a mess over here. It's definitely a place you want to avoid. Now, we are in great shape. No major delays on the Edens both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose, just 14 minutes. Very light on the Kennedy, inbound and outbound from Montrose to the Bird Interchange, just 8 minutes. The Eisenhower is 14 minutes both ways from Wolf to the old post office. No slowdowns or delays on both the Stevenson or the Dan Ryan. This report is sponsored by Supershore. Do you own a small business? Then you need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get Supershore. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but Supershore. The seismic shift is coming. Supershore coming soon. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a few flurries in the morning, followed by mostly cloudy skies with a high of 28. Tonight, anticipate areas of low clouds with a possible flurry late as temperatures drop to a low of 18. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions and cold weather with a high reaching 25. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I noted with interest a report released in Tennessee by the Tennessee District Attorneys General's Conference on crimes committed by illegal immigrants in Tennessee. Crimes committed by illegal immigrants in Tennessee, released by the, basically like the District Attorneys Association in Tennessee. Interesting report. 21,648 total criminal charges in 2025. 2,183 violent offenses, 41 homicides, nearly 1,600 assaults, 145 sexual offenses, 11 child rapes, 40 aggravated kidnappings, nearly 3,000 DUIs, and more than 5,300 cases of driving without a license or on a suspended or revoked license. That's not inconsequential, certainly to the victims and their families, right? Preventable crimes. Tennessee has half the population of Illinois, a little bit more than half. And I'm sure, since it is not a sanctuary state, probably less than half of the illegal immigrant population. Pew Research puts the illegal immigrant population in Illinois at north of 500,000. 41 homicides, 1,600 assaults, 145 sexual offenses, 11 child rapes, 40 aggravated kidnappings. It's a lot of criminal, a lot of victims of criminality that could have been prevented. And that's the first job of government, as I understand it. So I went, gosh, well, I wonder what the Illinois report says. Silly me. Under the sanctuary state law in Illinois, law enforcement is prohibited from inquiring about or investigating the citizenship or immigration status of anyone they arrest, you see. We don't have that data. Gee, I wonder why. Why would they want law enforcement? Well, the lawmakers in Springfield and the governor and mayors like Brandon Johnson. Golly, why would they not want that data kept and recorded and reported? Gee, I wonder. Can you imagine? I just wish more victims of people in this country illegally, in Illinois, more victims and their families would come forward the way that Joe Abraham and Brian McCann and others have come forward to put a fine point on it, to put a human face on it. It's what we need. It's the only thing that really penetrates as far as I'm concerned. Otherwise, it's just data points, and it gets lost in the shuffle of the propagandizing by politicians and the professional agitators they finance, as we have seen. Turning all the focus on, demonization of ICE full time. One ineffectual executive order after the other, one Nazi comparison after the other. Eric Homskes is a civilian employee at the Department of War. He has written on the topic. He joins us now. Eric, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
One of those below the fold differences between a sanctuary state and a non-sanctuary state, maybe a sanctuary state versus rule of law state. Maybe that's the way we should present them. Just in terms of, you have no idea because you're not allowed to report reality to your constituents. That's what the political leadership in a state like Illinois has affected.
I found it interesting. You were just bringing up that report, and it just brought to mind as I was writing this article for The Hill, this op-ed, and trying to do more research and everything else. Exactly what you said. It's amazing how hard it is to find true hard data to back up either side, right? But definitely can't find out anything on, what are the numbers looking like, as far as the types of crime, how much crime, almost like a coordinated effort to keep it hidden. And that says a lot.
The president posted on Truth Social over the weekend, I've instructed Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, under no circumstances are we going to participate in various poorly run Democrat cities with regard to their protests and or riots unless they ask us for help. We will, however, guard, very powerfully so, any and all federal buildings that are being attacked by these highly paid lunatics, agitators, and insurrectionists, so forth. The president's posture on that, we're going to leave cities that allow their cities or parts of their cities to be overrun by the professional agitators. We're going to leave them to their own devices unless they ask us for help. We'll guard our property, and that's it. What do you say to that?
I honestly disagree with that approach, but I think he knows probably more than most that when images move polls, and you kind of brought that up in your first talking point as far as putting a human face, and I think that's what we're missing. I think the Laken Rileys and all the countless names we don't know who've been affected. I know in my local area, you were bringing up Tennessee stats, and I'm an hour and a half south of Nashville in Huntsville, Alabama. And, I've had a friend, lose her son through drunk driving, illegal immigrant, and died. So there definitely needs to be more of a face. I think, we have a problem with these sanctuary cities, with local governments, and especially like in Minnesota, these moral contradictions. They want to condemn aggressive enforcement, then they force the enforcement into the disruptive environments. Then they try to blame the federal agents for the outcomes that they structurally cause. And as I stated, the Democrats and the media know that these images are going to move polls. And it's all been just about power. It has nothing to do about we the people.
The other thing that's happening, too, that maybe some nervous Republicans should take notice of is, there's some dissension in the ranks on the other side, too. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, was on with Bret Baier over the weekend and said this.
Taking criminal illegal immigrants off the street, would you honor ICE detainers? If you're not willing to hold someone longer than in a jail for ICE, what about a phone call that gives ICE the heads up that you're releasing that person? That's where a lot of the pushback is coming.
We want our communities to be safe, and we work with our federal partners where appropriate. As an example, if we have a violent criminal who's about to leave one of our jails, we do collaborate and communicate with our federal partners. We want our communities to be safe.
But so that's the problem with sanctuary cities and sanctuary
We're not
states.
a sanctuary state.
I know you're not. But do you think that Governor Walz and Mayor Fry are doing the right thing?
I'm not going to pine on other governors. I can tell you what I do in Pennsylvania. We work together to reduce crime. That is what we've accomplished.
Yeah, so he's not going to opine on Walz and Fry, but there is clearly daylight between a Shapiro and a Walz or a Pritzker or a Newsom, and that could and should be exploited.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just common sense. So, the arrests that move out of the jails behind closed doors are going to then go into the neighborhoods, and that's going to create more public encounters, which means more bystanders and risk for everyone. And again, it's done on purpose. And now stars get to wear lapel pins and the new fashion statement and everything else. But again, it's their own that sanctuary policy that's pushing it out into the street, because I think we know what the real debate is. It's there's this real belief. And you heard it from the stars last night and everything else, thinking that we really shouldn't have borders. And it's just lunacy. I don't know where they think, the money growing on trees and where federal government actually gets their money. It's either printed, causing inflation, or it's higher taxes. And it's just squeezing this middle class. It's just not sustainable.
The other thing, too, is you have prosecutors like in Philadelphia, Larry Krasner, who Josh Shapiro repudiated Krasner's comparison of ICE to Nazis, and Krasner donning himself like a 21st century Nazi hunter. He totally rejected that. So there's more dissension in the ranks because Shapiro doesn't want to be associated with that, which is an intelligent play by Shapiro. But there's other things with respect to some of these prosecutors, too. Jason Johnson from the Law Enforcement Defenseman Fund had an interesting piece in the New York Post talking about this, the disparate treatment. And basically, by with prosecutors like Krasner and Alvin Bragg in Manhattan dropping or reducing charges, and helping keep criminals who are in this country legally off ICE's radar, they are giving criminal aliens preferential treatment at the expense of American citizens. This is not an inconsequential thing because you're not allowed to discriminate against or for someone based on their national origin. And what Jason Johnson, I think, cleverly argues is that this is discrimination for someone based on their national origin, that their status here illegally. You have prosecutors discriminating on their behalf and giving them beneficial treatment under the law that American citizens don't get, and that should rise to the level of federal attention.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what's the end game? I mean, I think everybody that's kind of following this, understands where this is headed. I mean, why, Biden had such an open flood of illegal immigration coming over the border, and isn't it funny how a lot of them were getting sent, to these red cities, red states. I think they know the American people by seeing these images. And, what do we have? 6 corporations controlling the news. Not very hard to have a succinct message out there, but they flooded. They know people, just Americans in general. We don't want to see kids. We don't want to see this displacement, as they like to be put on there. Oh, these people have done nothing else. They're just good citizens paying their local taxes with what they buy. They're helping the economy in the long run. And they flooded and flooded and flooded because they know amnesty eventually is going to be on the table. Once they get this supposed, I don't think there's really much appetite on the Republican side to get rid of all illegal immigrations and make them stand at the back of the line and come back. And I think with that amnesty is going to come power of votes. And if you're one of those people and you think only one party is going to actually protect you, who do you think they're going to vote for?
Speaking of, pulling up short, I'm talking about on the Republican side, like you're sort of intimating, they go along to a certain extent and then they quietly, sneak away. What about as it pertains to investigating the financing of these professional agitators, these organizations that are crossing the line and committing criminal acts in major cities? There's been a lot of talk from Cash. There was Caroline Leavitt reiterated over the weekend on Bartiromo's show that the FBI is closing in on these individuals. Are you satisfied with the level of investigation into the financing of these anarchist organizations that are connected to criminal activity?
I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think when you look at, throughout history and some of these larger cases that get blown open, a lot of the times it's kind of like out of nowhere, all of a sudden the evidence gets dropped. I'm really hoping that for some reason we can track down funding that goes into Minnesota, goes all the way to Somalia, but we can't figure out who's paying professional protesters and agitators within our own country. It doesn't make sense to me. I think we've got too many smart people within the government, within the FBI that could track the money flow down. So at this time, obviously not satisfied, but I have a little hope that maybe something behind the scenes is going to be happening, but who knows? I honestly, my personal opinion, I think both parties have sold the American people down the river for power and for money, and I think and it's kind of funny. I didn't even vote for president the first time in the primaries when he ran, and then I found myself ever since he became president defending most of his policies that he's put in place. So. Fingers are crossed. I hope it happens, but I'm kind of in that let's wait and see.
Eric Homskes is a civilian employee at the Department of War. His piece, Local Sanctuary Policies Are Creating Chaos for Communities. We know that all too well in Chicago, in Illinois generally. That's you can find over at The Hill, thehill.com. Eric, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, thank you.
And Eric joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Well, that was a surprise. The HVAC tech just said our furnace apparently has a cracked heat exchanger, and it'll cost thousands.
Oh, you're kidding. He barely looked at it. Now he's pushing a huge repair? What should we do?
I don't really trust them. We need a second opinion. My brother Mark recommended Air Right Heating and Cooling. I looked them up and they seem legit. Great Google reviews. I'm sure they'd give us an honest assessment. He liked that they checked their carbon monoxide readings so he knows the air they're breathing is safe. And I guess it also gave a sense of how much life was left in their furnace.
I'd love that peace of mind. Plus, why spend a fortune on something we might not even need?
Get a second opinion from Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you and get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling right now at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
40,000 people, that's enough to pack Wrigley Field. I'm talking about 40,000 people who realized hip and knee surgery wasn't their only option. There has to be another way. Guess what? There is. They found it at QC Kinetics, an alternative to surgery. I know this because I've met the patients. They're moving better and hurting less thanks to QC Kinetics' advanced regenerative treatments. Surgery is not always the answer, so do your research and talk with my friends at QC Kinetics. They offer natural treatments backed by real science. They will activate your body's natural healing power. Safe, natural, non-surgical. Osteoarthritis only gets worse, so don't wait. Get started this month. 40,000 people can't be wrong. Before you choose surgery, talk with QC Kinetics and tell them Dan Prof sent you. That's me. Call today, 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
Attention investors, this affects you. Silver prices are exploding, with silver exceeding $100 a troy ounce for the first time. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get our free gold and silver investment guide. Plus, you'll also receive a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem, when you call now. Here's why it matters. Silver is a high liquidity, tangible, and affordable precious metal investment that serves as an industrial commodity and a store of value. It often outperforms gold during economic upturns. If you have an IRA or 401k, you can act now. Roll over a portion into a tax-advantaged gold and silver IRA backed by physical metals you actually own. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 and find out how you can get a tax and penalty-free rollover for a portion of your retirement funds for 2026. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Croscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Croscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Croscom.
Call Croscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Croscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Croscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Croscom.
Croscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Croscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CroscomPublicAdjusters.com.
At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do, it's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment, so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you.
AM 560, The Answer.
So today is Groundhog Day, and Punxsutawney Phil did see his shadow, so there will be 6 more weeks of winter. Boy, the era of AI, and we're still relying on Punxsutawney Phil, the groundhog, to tell us whether or not we're going to have an extended winter. Superstitions die hard. All right, coming up at 7:07, our weekly conversation with the Heritage Foundation, Stephen Bucci. Lots to discuss, from Venezuela to Canada to China to Iran. We will do that at 7:07. And a little bit later in the program, hopefully we'll get to it, before our conversation with Amy and Jeannie at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour, another installment of Why Dan Proft a Single. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560.
It's day 3 of the government shutdown. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, but it's only a partial one this time, and House Speaker Mike Johnson tells Fox News Sunday it'll end soon.
We'll get all this done by Tuesday, I'm convinced. We do have to do it by way of a rule process, which will be probably on our own.
Because Democrats are unwilling to help approve the Senate compromise that funds the government through September, except for Homeland Security. It would only get 2 weeks as Democrats demand immigration enforcement reform. And that anti-ICE sentiment was prominent at the Grammys on CBS last night.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
That was Billie Eilish after winning Song of the Year. Bad Bunny also got cheered, accepting Album of the Year's Grammy, declaring ICE out, we're not savages. President Trump called the Grammys the worst and virtually unwatchable in a Truth Social post that also threatened to sue the host, Trevor Noah, for a comment that the president visited Epstein Island. Referencing late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, the president called that wrong and defamatory. President Trump, who's also chairman of the board of the now Trump Kennedy Center, says it's going to close in July for a 2-year renovation.
There was a renovation and expansion completed in 2019, rooms President Trump has said nobody's going to use. There have been lower ticket sales and artist boycotts since the president took over the center's board a year ago and a vote in December to rename the Kennedy Center the Donald J. Trump and John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. There's still about 100,000 power outages in the South from the massive storm more than a week ago. While in North Carolina, they dig out from a weekend storm that dumped more than a foot of snow in some areas. So how much more of this are we going to get? They just asked a famous groundhog.
There is a shadow here on my ground. 6 more weeks of winter abound.
Punxsutawney Phil just predicted that at Gobbler's Knob in Pennsylvania, where it's 1 degree now. And on this Groundhog Day, there are also other less famous ones across the country that'll also forecast how much winter is left. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 24 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Chicago Mayor Brendan Johnson has signed an executive order directing members of the city's police department to investigate federal law enforcement and refer evidence of felony violations for prosecution. Jim Talamonte has the latest.
The mayor signed the ICE on notice order on Saturday and said it was a step toward justice.
This executive order will make Chicago the first city in the country to set the groundwork to prosecute ICE and Border Patrol agents for criminal misconduct.
Chicago Republican Party Chairman Chuck Hernandez said the mayor is delusional to think police would support the order.
He wants to foment hate for law enforcement and our federal law enforcement partners, and the police don't want any part of this.
Chicago Fraternal Order of Police President John Catanzara Jr. called Johnson's order a piece of toilet paper and said the only good thing in it is that no Chicago police officer would be required to arrest federal agents. I'm Chip Talamonte.
A water main break has left more than half of the residents in Dixmoor without reliable or any water service. Dixmoor Village President Fitzgerald Roberts says the problem centers on an 8-inch water main pipe on 139th between Dixie Highway and Thornton Road. The village of Dixmoor has suffered from bursting pipes for many years, as many of those pipes are more than 100 years old. Officials say replacing them could cost upwards of $50 million. If you're planning on eating out, you might want to watch your cell phone a little closer. Chicago police are warning residents after thieves have targeted restaurant patrons. Officials say the thieves began by distracting the victims by by dropping something close to the table where the victim's cell phone is sitting. Then they put a bag over the phone while they're picking up the dropped item and distracting the victim, carting away the victim's cell phone as they leave. This report is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Profit University and The Sean Thompson Show, when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson, and John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party. Sponsored in part by Stephen A. Leahy with Opum Tax Advocates.
This President's Day, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson and Lincoln by offering unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month. Meanwhile, Big Wireless is honoring Ben Franklin by charging families hundreds of dollars for the same 5G coverage. What? Franklin wasn't even a president. Hang on to those Benjamins. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe, to switch to an American wireless company that's truly unprecedented. Pure Talk.
He's coming. Here he goes. Surprise! Your table saw broke. Also, the warranty expired weeks ago, so you need to pay for a new one out of pocket.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Oh, and the replacement part you ordered doesn't fit, so it's completely useless. What a waste.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
If moving safely around your home is a concern, you deserve clear answers, not a sales pitch. Access will help you improve home accessibility with practical solutions like lifts, grab bars, and home modifications, designed to fit your home, your needs, and budget. Experienced professionals will take the time to explain your options so you can make an informed decision. If staying safe and comfortable in your home matters to you, start with a free in-home consultation. Call Access at 630-616-6249 or visit allaboutaccess.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Adler. Westbound side of the Jane Addams is closed at Barrington Road. With a very serious accident, you are being forced off of the roadway at Barrington Road, so it is stop and go through this area. You can re-enter via the Barrington entrance ramp, but it's just a mess. Now, we also have delays on the Eisenhower inbound as you approach Harlem Avenue, an accident off on the left shoulder, so it's 26 minutes from Wolf to the old post office. Outbound is 18. Outbound on the Stevenson at Lamont Road, there's a collision, so that's 27 minutes from Lakeshore to Veterans Memorial. Inbound is 34. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 21 minutes. Outbound is 12, and no major slowdowns on both the Edens or the Kennedy. This report is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a few flurries in the morning, followed by mostly cloudy skies with a high of 28. Tonight, anticipate areas of low clouds with a possible flurry late as temperatures drop to a low of 18. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions and cold weather with a high reaching 25. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, updating our top story. Punxsutawney Phil sees his shadow, meaning 6 more weeks of winter. Not so fast. Thankfully, here at Chicago's Morning Answer, we have a noted groundhog expert in our producer, Quinn McCarthy. And he informs me that Punxsutawney Phil is accurate 35% of the time. Whereas Woodstock Willie, the groundhog here in suburban Woodstock Willie, accurate 60% of the time, and Woodstock Willie did not see his shadow. And the most accurate of the groundhogs, who are in the business of meteorology, Staten Island Chuck, he's correct 85% of the time, and Staten Island Chuck has yet to weigh in.
Did not see a shadow.
Oh, we have updating our update. Staten Island Chuck did not see his shadow. Okay, so don't get wooed by these celebrities surrounding Punxsutawney Phil, because Woodstock Willie, almost twice as accurate. Staten Island Chuck, almost 3 times as accurate as Punxsutawney Phil. Neither Woodstock Willie nor Staten Island Chuck saw their shadows. Punxsutawney Phil did. Who are you going to believe? Okay. All right. We'll continue to update this story as more information from groundhogs becomes available. Last week, of course, Secretary of State Marco Rubio testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about Venezuela in particular. And one of the things that he declared, it's going to take time.
I am saying that in 3.5, almost 4 weeks, we are much further along on this project than we thought we would be, given the complexities of it going into it. And I recognize that it won't be easy. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we are dealing with people over there that have spent most of their lives living in a gangster paradise. So it's not going to be like from one day to the next, we're going to have this thing.
Yeah. Did I play that Rubio clip just so I could play the late, great Coolio? You're damn right I did. President Trump, on his way back to base camp over the weekend on Air Force One, had this to say about Venezuela, the prospect of Maria Corina Machado ultimately taking the helm there, vis-a-vis what the situation is with the remnants of the Maduro regime.
Do you think China's going to get their money back from all the money they lent to Venezuela?
I don't know anything about that, but I'll tell you what, China is welcome to come in and would make a great deal in oil. You know, we welcome China. We've already made a deal. India's coming in, and they're going to be buying Venezuelan oil as opposed to buying it from Iran. So we've already made that deal, the concept of the deal. But China's welcome to come in and buy oil.
Really? I got some questions about that. Let's put it to Stephen Bucci. Served America for 3 decades as Army Special Forces officer, top Pentagon official, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies now, and a Coolio aficionado, I believe. Stephen, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure for being here. I thought you were going to ask me about the groundhogs. I was going to go with Willie. I think he seems like the most likely. Staten Island's Chuck. I think it's Chuck Schumer that's really slipping in the info there, and I don't trust him at all.
A friend of mine who, by the way, let me credentialize him, is an Italian-American, texted me this. Italian-American groundhog, when he was asked if he saw a shadow, he said, "I didn't see nothing." Hi-oh. Okay. All right. Now let's get to serious business. The regime there now is doing a great job. That seems implausible. He'd be happy to cut a deal with China to access Venezuelan oil. That seems imprudent. Am I wrong?
Well, it depends on what you mean by accessing Venezuelan oil. What he doesn't mean is that they get all the oil and they get it at lower than market value because it's stuff that's coming into the country under the table. I believe what the president's referring to is if you want to get your fair share and you want to pay the market price, and if you want more of it, maybe you have to pay more. He's not afraid of China being a business partner. He just doesn't like China thinking that it gets to set its own rules and everybody else be darned. And so the freebies for China are over, or the good deals. They're going to have to play like everybody else if they want to come in there. He's not trying to starve China of oil. He's just saying you don't get to write your own play here.
Okay, but what about, I mean, I get that this is an alliance of temporary convenience with respect to the remnants of the Maduro regime. But, and I also understand that, Trump likes to polish the apples of people he's, currently in an alliance with, even if it's one of convenience and it's temporary. But I mean, can't he send the message that, look, we're working constructively, but there needs to be elections soon. The Venezuelans need self-determination, and I mean he said Maria Corina Machado is a good person and all that, but give us that other piece about an eye towards self-determination and an end to the remnants of Maduro.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot more work to be done inside of Venezuela to get a government in place that actually represents the people of Venezuela and is not there just to line their own pockets and get all their buddies there at the trough with them. But it is, as Secretary Rubio said, it's a pretty complex problem that they're trying to handle all at once. And, they've made a lot of progress. So, yeah, I want to see that too. For me, that is the key. We've got to get the right government in there. And if working out the details of the oil takes a little longer, that's the one I would like to see stretch out, not the self-determination part. But I think the comment about China is just to say, look, China, we're not here to screw you, but we're also not here to give you a sweetheart deal. Be helpful with us, and that deal will be better than it might be otherwise. So don't try and get tough and try and screw up the plan we have for self-determination because you think you're going to get more oil that way. Play by the rules, and you'll get some. You're not going to get everything you want, but they want all of it, so that's sort of an unreasonable demand.
Trump also was asked about the Iranians because the Ayatollah has said if Trump strikes Iran, it's going to be a regional war. It's not going to be limited to, retaliation between Iran and America solely. Trump responding thusly.
On Iran, the Supreme Leader today said that U.S. attack could spark a regional war. Giving you response to that?
Why wouldn't he say that? Of course you're going to say that, but we have the biggest, most powerful ships in the world over there, very close. Couple of days, and hopefully we'll make a deal. If we don't make a deal, then we'll find out whether or not he was right.
He's basically saying, really? Do you think that's going to intimidate us? They couldn't defeat Israel, but they're going to take on the whole region. I used to be the attaché in Albania, and Albania's plan during the Cold War was they get in a fight with NATO. And then, for some reason, the Warsaw Pact would attack them too, so they'd have to fight everybody. Right now, Iran's in that same sort of situation. Nobody's coming to help Iran if there's a fight. And Iran does not have the capability to do anything but some annoyances around the world right now. They are a paper tiger, and we need to stop sitting there going, oh, my God, what might Iran do? They don't have nukes yet. So they don't get the extra grace that Putin gets because he's got nukes. Stop kowtowing to the preening of these guys. It's just nuts.
Albania, you border on the Adriatic. You remember that year's episode?
Absolutely.
Did you guys enjoy that over at the embassy in Albania?
It was one of the best assignments I ever had. We were there right when they were changing from a communist country for 50 years to a real country, and got lots of good friends and people there. It's a great place with great people. They've made a lot of improvements. Trust me.
Did what was it, the dictator Hoxha He was the dictator, right?
Enver Hoxha, yeah.
Yeah, and so did you ever get to visit I saw a documentary on those mushroom concrete bunkers they built all along the countryside in Albania?
There's over somewhere between 250,000 and 750,000 of them all over the entire country. Yeah, you couldn't help. You tripped over them if you walked around anywhere.
That's a greater eyesore than all the windmills in this country. That's how bad that is. It's just wild. All right, sorry to digress there. I'm on a little under the weather. I think the Dayquil is getting to me. But anyway, just the Albania thing. Of course, I think of Coach and Sam. So I want to go to Canada. And Mark Carney is all over the place. He's defiant, and then he's conciliatory. This with respect to Canada's relationship with the Chinese Communist Party and the tough talk he offered in Davos in the direction of America, the post-American New World Order sort of thing. First he walked it back, and then he didn't.
The president posting this: if Canada makes a deal with China, it will immediately be hit with a 100% tariff against all Canadian goods and products coming into the USA. Now, the Canadian Prime Minister Carney now pushing back, saying this on Sunday: we have no intention of doing that with China or any other non-market economy. What we have done with China is to rectify some issues that developed in the last couple of years.
But then
I explained to him our arrangement with China. I explained to him what we're doing, 12 new deals on 4 continents in 6 months. He was impressed. And what we intend to do going forward, as well as the opportunity to, of course, move forward on CUSMA. You will note that Minister LeBlanc had discussions with one of his counterparts in the last 36 hours about some of the modalities and things on the way forward. But to be absolutely clear, and I said this to the president, I meant what I said in Davos.
I didn't really mean that, but I did mean what I said.
Yeah, look, this guy is, sadly for us, because he's our next door neighbor, is a lightweight. He is not some sort of international wheeler and dealer. He doesn't have the wherewithal to do that. He clearly doesn't have the personality, and I'm afraid maybe not the intellect to do it. But President Trump wants them to understand: don't make a deal with China that puts America at risk. We have too many interconnected systems with Canada to allow the Chinese to come in, full bore to do this stuff in Canada, because frankly, that affects us. I understand Canada's an independent country, but they don't want to sever all those systemic ties that we have with them, even if we're having bad times over trade. So they need to tread a little lightly on who they make friends with besides us, because they're putting us at risk. That's the real key here.
In Eastern Europe, is there any detectable movement toward a cessation of hostilities between Russia and Ukraine? Is that, do you see any any progress there in terms of some sort of deal?
I have not seen anything that got my heart, upbeat about it at all. President Trump, I recognize asking him to back off, asking Putin to back off because of the cold weather was a nice gesture, but come on, Mr. President, did you really think Putin was going to give a rip about the fact that the people are cold? He's dropping bombs on their apartment buildings and kids' schools. He's going to worry that they need to use an extra blanket the other night. That's not the kind of stuff that moves Putin's needle at all. In fact, he probably got a big laugh out of it, especially say, oh, sure, we'll be more than happy to be helpful. And he's not trying to be helpful in any way, shape, or form. Putin, I'm sorry, has to be confronted. I think the president, our president, is beyond the line of, well, I think I can make a deal with this guy. I don't think he can. I don't think anybody can make a deal with Putin, because he's just completely unwilling to do anything vaguely correctly. He's just not going to do it.
And what at this juncture, what does confronting him translate into in terms of concrete action that we haven't done to date?
I think we need to stop the pussyfooting around, stop the equivalence between Ukraine and Russia. Most of us were pretty sure Putin was the problem here, not Zelensky. You may not like Zelensky, but okay, he's not in the same category as Putin. He didn't start it. He's been trying to make a deal, and Putin, short of giving away most of his country, he's not willing to do that, and I don't think he should. I think we start giving weapons to Ukraine that can reach a little further. Putin has to feel some pain, or he is not going to change what he's doing. And sadly, nobody seems quite willing to do that right now. Maybe they're being prudent and I'm being cavalier, but I just don't see a solution otherwise unless you think just letting this thing drag on is a solution. I don't. And I'd like to see really tighten down the economic sanctions, again, not just on Russia itself, and there is still room there, but on the countries that are supporting and doing business with them. And for goodness sakes, the Europeans need to stop buying Russian products. They can get their energy needs from other places besides Russia, and they need to stop buying the Russian energy, or Putin's got no reason to stop doing what he's doing.
All right, I've made you carve out some difficult positions on Eastern Europe, on China, on groundhogs. Let me give you a softball to close us out here today. Susan Rice on what the American people did and did not vote for as it pertains to our foreign policy. Take a listen.
Most Americans could have imagined. Most Americans, whether they voted for Trump or not, did not sign up for, reckless foreign adventures, for an imperial United States that seizes territory from our traditional allies, that, makes Trump king of the world, which is what this Board of Peace garbage is, and has us bombing, within a 1 month period, Syria, Nigeria, Venezuela, and, maybe Iran. People did not vote for that.
Boy, I'm old enough to remember when Trump was a dangerous isolationist, Stephen.
Yeah, Susan Rice, to paraphrase Robert Gates when he was talking about Joe Biden, Susan Rice has pretty much been on the wrong side of almost every international thing since she's been on the radar screen, since she was a senior State Department person. She's just wrong and wrong-headed, and that set of comments just proves it. She's completely flip-flopped from where she was before, and, I hate to say, but most of us voted for Trump for him to fix what was wrong with America, not to continue doing the foreign policies of Barack Obama and Joe Biden. He's not doing that. He's not doing it the way she would like it, but you know what? The way she likes it didn't work. So, President Trump's moving the needle on a lot of those issues. So, sorry, Miss Rice, you are still wrong about everything.
Yeah, I mean, to me, just to put it succinctly and see if you agree, I mean, Susan Rice, in that perspective, that internationalist New World Order perspective, is America is just another country. And the Trump perspective is America is the indelible country, the indispensable country. And he's acting as, in furtherance of America, as the indispensable country for, frankly, global peace and commerce, not just another country that is beholden to events like, frankly, our lessers.
Absolutely right. Ask the people in Venezuela if they were upset with Trump's overreach. They're not. They're thrilled that Maduro's gone. They're waiting for these follow-on steps so that they can have a free country. The other peace deals that he's cut with other conflicts around the world, that under Rice and the people she worked for, it's just the price of doing business. There's going to be conflicts around the world. No, he's gone and brokered things, used his influence, most of the time without shooting a bullet, without dropping a bomb. And in a couple of cases, he dropped some bombs, and you know what? That moved the needle the right way, too. If you don't like what he did over Greenland, look, we're not taking Greenland from Denmark. But you know what? We're going to get some space on Greenland to improve the security profile of America and Europe. I'm sorry, he's doing it differently, but it's working in most cases.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, now a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thank you as always.
It's my pleasure. Take care and have a great week.
You too. And Stephen joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Mike Lindell has a passion to help people get the best sleep of their life. He started by creating the best pillow ever, and right now he is passing the best prices to you when you use promo code LIBERTY. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get wholesale pricing on the classic My Pillows for $17.98. Transform any mattress with a My Mattress topper and save up to $100. Get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $39.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Rest easy remembering that MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty. Call today, 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY.
We've all heard the news. The flu virus has mutated again, and the vaccine just isn't as effective as they hoped. It leaves you wondering, how do you stay safe? But you have a powerful, God-given immune system. But with all these viruses coming out right now, it needs a serious boost. I'm Dr. Michael Huber, introducing Virago. We have put together a powerhouse formula containing quercetin, fistin, resveratrol, and lactoferrin. We combine these specific nutraceuticals with 19 other nutrients because of their synergistic effect. They work together to supercharge your immune system, creating a defense that is stronger than any single ingredient alone. This is the boost your body needs to fight back. So take Virago and boost your immune system. Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail.
Order your bottle of Virago. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE. Virago and Maha. Making America healthy again.
AM 560. The Answer.
Albania, you border on the Adriatic. Your land is mostly mountainous, and your chief export is chrome. You're a communist republic. You're a red regime.
Coach. Great show, great character actor. Ernie Pantuso, name I'll never forget, the character. Coming up at 7:37, we'll talk to University of Minnesota law professor, that is, about the history of birthright citizenship as well as the current state of affairs on the ground. 7:37, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 24 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A water main break has left more than half of the residents of Dixmoor without reliable water service this morning. Dixmoor Village President Fitzgerald Roberts says the problem centers on an 8-inch water main pipe on 139th between Dixie Highway and Thornton Road that is burst. The village of Dixmoor has suffered from bursting pipes for many years, as many of those pipes are more than 100 years old, and officials say replacing them could cost more than $50 million. Several vigils were held last night throughout the Chicagoland area for the man who was shot by ICE agents in Minneapolis. Protesters gathered at Edward Hines Jr. VA Hospital, where Alex Preddy was hailed as a hero who was standing on the right side of the law. Preddy had been employed as an ICU nurse at a VA hospital in Minneapolis before being shot by ICE agents during a protest. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson, and John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones agent Nolan Webster.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker, and I'm here with
Amy Jacobson
from Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker and Amy Jacobson here on AM 560 The Answer. Now, I'm a financial advisor, and Amy's the co-host for our program. You know, Amy, recently President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. A lot of folks aren't realizing, Amy, that if they have highly appreciated assets, they can potentially tax defer the capital gains tax, place that money into a qualified opportunity fund, and then 10 years from now, get back out of that investment and pay no capital gains tax on either investment. Have you heard of such a thing, Amy?
I did not know about that. That seemed to be hidden in the bill.
It's only 900 some pages.
Yeah,
we have to pass it to see what's in it.
An easy beach read, yes.
Yes. And now there's another thing in the bill as well, Amy. Section 1202. Amy, did you read Section 1202?
I did not, but thank you for the homework assignment.
If you're a small business owner, many small business owners can now sell their small business and potentially pay no federal capital gains taxes on that capital gain of selling their business.
Wow.
If you'd like to get a free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Text the keyword book, that's BOOK, to 224-496-3999. Text the keyword book to 224-496-3999. In addition to the free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? You'll also get our entire Retirement Dakota toolkit. We'll also give you the opportunity to talk to us 15 minutes for free over the telephone at another time so we can go through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act with you, show you how to potentially sell your highly appreciated assets and pay no federal capital gains tax, how qualified opportunity funds work, and also if you're a small business owner, how to potentially pay no capital gains on the sale of your small business through Section 1202, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Text book to 224-496-3999 or call that very same number, 224-496-3999.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm does not offer tax advice.
File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction or your money back. File in the Credit Karma app.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on the Jane Addams westbound at Barrington Road, a very serious accident. All lanes are shut down right now, and you are being detoured off of the roadway at Barrington Road. You can re-enter the westbound side via the Barrington entrance ramp. On the eastbound side, stop and go. That begins at Route 59. Also real slow on the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 29 minutes. Outbound is 21. The inbound northbound. Stevenson is 37 minutes from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 29. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 25 minutes. Outbound is 12. This report is the service of Back to School America. This holiday season, help Back to School America make an impact on teachers who give it their all. Your donation will empower teachers and inspire students. Give today at b2sa.org. That's b2sa.org. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a few flurries in the morning with mostly cloudy skies for the rest of the day. The temperature will reach a high of 28. Tonight, there will be areas of low clouds with a chance of a flurry or two later on. The low will be around 18. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions and cold weather with a high of 25. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Michelle Wu, the Boston mayor, by way of Barrington High School. I believe she was the valedictorian. It's remarkable how such a smart person can behave so ignorantly, say things that are so ridiculous. But that's what ideological blinders will do.
Every person, every human being has the legal right to come to the United States and seek asylum or shelter. And
well, we're going to have to create some more room at the end if 8 billion people, or 7.65 billion people, can come to America. I mean, I know what she's saying. Under the law, you have a right to petition the country for asylum, but I don't think it's going to be very persuasive, for example, if citizens of Western European countries, say, petitioned America for asylum. Although increasingly it's getting compelling given the free speech restrictions and arrests in the UK, for example. But the point is that she is not attempting to make a technical point. She is attempting to make the no person is illegal point. And this is the sentimental nonsense that you get in this discussion. It is so difficult to have dialogue on the merits because you have these demagogues in mayor's offices and governor's mansions around the country. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the show, there is some separation. There are some people on the other side that are increasingly uncomfortable about what their fellow travelers are doing and saying. One of them is Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, who had this to say about the histrionics over ICE officers wearing masks and so forth.
I come from this as an absolute secure border Democrat here, and that's where we're at. Like, focus on the secure our border, deport all the criminals, and that we can figure out now. And I also say now, some of the agents wearing masks, I think primarily that's driven by people are going to dox those people. That's a serious concern too. Absolutely. They could target their families, and they are organizing these people to put their names out there. So don't ever dox people and target their families too. So that's part of the churn as well now too.
okay.
That seems pretty commonsensical and prudent. I wanted to fold one more voice in on this discussion before we get to our next guest. and that is David Sachs, who's one of the tech bros, a very successful venture capitalist that is included in the All In podcast group. And he just offered, basically a straightforward distillation of what's happening in Minnesota and what the real gambit here is from the open borders, abolish ICE left. First of all, on the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy.
In a way, I feel sorry for Good and Preddy because they were the victims of a tinderbox that was created in Minnesota by the extreme rhetoric and decisions of Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, and the political establishment. The local police in Minneapolis should have been allowed to keep conditions safe on the street by creating a perimeter and keeping protesters away from ICE officers who were executing lawful warrants of arrest. But the police were told not to. And then the agitators stepped in and they took advantage of this sort of vacuum of authority to physically intervene. So I think it was almost inevitable that some sort of tragedy was going to result from this abdication of public safety.
Yeah, which is what Tom Homan warned about months ago. Sachs goes on to say, why are these protesters and agitators, why are they risking such deadly confrontations? One is, you've heard these arguments before, but it's good to have another voice lend credulity to it. One is to distract attention away from $9 to $19 billion in fraud that the power structure in Minnesota didn't seem particularly interested in investigating, uprooting, and frankly still doesn't, which is why the feds are doing it. And secondly, this.
They want to thwart mass deportations because illegal immigrants are a vital part of their power base. And you can see this in the 2030 apportionment forecast, which just came out. Illegal aliens count towards the census, which occurs every decade. And the census determines the apportionment of congressional seats and electoral votes. And what you see in these maps is that citizens of blue states have been migrating to red states because those blue states are failing. And as a result of that, blue states are expected to lose 9 House seats and electoral votes because of the changing population numbers. Illegal aliens in blue states have been propping up those numbers. And so, for example, in the last election, President Trump would have won an additional 9 electoral votes if we had an accurate counting. So look, this is not about principle. This is bare knuckle politics. The Democrats are playing for keeps. They don't really care how many innocent Americans get hurt or killed in the process. This is about thwarting a popular policy of deportations and sealing the border, which the American people voted for. So don't let the media fool you.
For more on this, please be joined by Alon Werman, the Julius E. Davis Professor of Law at the University of Minnesota and co-host of the Rationally Based podcast. Professor Werman, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your show.
Your reaction to what Sachs and Fetterman basically had to say about what is right and proper and what the angle of incidence is here for people like Walz and Frey.
So let me say two things. The first is everybody understands that federal law is, of course, supreme within the domain of the federal government's power, and I don't think anybody really disputes that immigration is within the federal government's power. And so this lawsuit that was filed by Minnesota, even the judge was like, which is a Biden-appointed judge, tossed it out and basically said, what are you talking about? This doesn't invade the sovereignty of the states. And in fact, made this really interesting point, which is the second thing that I want to talk about, that she said something about how, sanctuary city policies can be, the surge in federal officers can be attributed to sanctuary city policies. And that's exactly right in the sense that when you go back in history, it was actually the anti-federalists, the people who were distrustful of national government power, who wanted state officers to help enforce federal law. Why? Precisely because they distrusted federal officers, whom they called a swarm of harpies, by the way, which is the title of our last episode of the Rationally Based podcast. They were afraid of the swarm of harpies of federal officers coming in from out of state to enforce federal law. State officers would be closer to the people. They're elected by the people. They would sort of mitigate the rigors of the law. And that's so the sanctuary city policies strike me as exactly backward when you think about it, right? If you impose the sanctuary city policies, then you're going to get those swarm of federal officers from out of state who have a right to come in and enforce federal law. So the whole thing seems, in my view, to backfire. So there's plenty that both sides, of course, can do to dial it down a bit. But the sanctuary city policies, are part of that equation.
Right, and I think there's a lot of frustration among people who do believe in law and order and do believe in the enforcement of immigration law. Say, well, how is it that you can have states just declare that basically their state or their big city is a federal law enforcement free zone?
Okay, well, so they, of course, can't do that. So South Carolina tried to nullify the infamous Tariff of Abominations in 1828 and the early 1830s, and Congress literally enacted the Force Act to give Andrew Jackson the right to go in and enforce federal law in South Carolina. But there is this other doctrine that you have to keep in mind. It's called the anti-commandeering doctrine, which the conservatives very much liked in the 1990s when Congress passed this law that required county officials to help enforce federal background checks on gun purchases, and some conservative county sheriffs were like, we don't want to enforce federal law. And the Supreme Court agreed. Justice Scalia said that the federal government cannot commandeer, it cannot coerce, it cannot co-opt state officials into executing the law. And there's a question as to whether, if ICE calls you and say, okay, come and hold this individual in your jail so we can come and enforce federal law. Is that commandeering? Well, in one respect, it's probably not, right? Because it's like we want to enforce federal law. But if the state officials are holding them longer than they otherwise would, is that commandeering for like 5 minutes or 5 days or however long? So there's this question. But there is a difference between, it's true that the federal government can't commandeer, but the states also can't obstruct, right? And I do wonder sometimes, if a private person, knew that somebody was, wanted by the federal government for some crime and then kind of let them go, would they be like an accessory after the fact in some respects? So there is some degree of obstruction here by the states, but you always have to kind of assess that in light of this anti-commandeering doctrine. So the constitutional doctrine is actually quite complicated, but to answer your question directly, of course federal law cannot be nullified, it cannot be obstructed, it cannot be interfered with by state officers, and if that's what's happening, then that would of course be inappropriate and unconstitutional.
Right. You need it's gooey as you describe. And so it takes sort of a bright line incident like that Milwaukee judge aiding and abetting an illegal immigrant's escape from the courthouse in order to say, okay, well, that's clear interference. It's not just not collaborating. It's actually actively interfering. And that's sort of
Exactly. That's exactly right.
The issue of that David Sachs brought up, census. Counting people in this country that are here illegally, just as with birthright citizenship. The phrase "subject to the jurisdiction thereof." This is something the Supreme Court has taken up.
Yes, so subject to the jurisdiction thereof comes in the birthright citizenship context of the 14th Amendment, Section 1. The enumeration clause or the census clause is a combination of the original Constitution and the second section of the 14th Amendment. And people say, like, oh, how can you not count, you have to count people who are here illegally. You have to count people who are here on student visas and work visas because it says you have to count the whole number of persons. But that's actually not what the clause says, at least not exactly. We don't count people who are on tourist visas in the census, which is kind of interesting, but they're persons who are here, so why aren't they counted? Well, it's because the actual clause says the following. It says representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of persons and then excluding Indians not taxed. And historically, it also said 3/5 of other persons. So the question here is, does it actually require the counting of all persons, the whole number of persons? Or does it require figuring out who is among the respective numbers of the state? What does that mean? I think it means, and certainly this lawsuit in Missouri that was just filed over the census litigation, the question of a state's respective numbers is a question of who is part of the political community of the state. So you have to figure that out first. It includes citizens, historically included permanent, aliens who are there in permanent residence, inhabitants, but are people who are there contrary to the laws or people who are there temporarily part of the numbers of the state. So if I could draw an analogy, it's like if the clause had said, you shall apportion representatives among the states according to their respective French population, counting the whole number of persons. You wouldn't count every single person. You would count every single person who's also French, right? And so the question is, who are among the numbers of the state? And do you count people who are there illegally or transiently? And so it's a very interesting constitutional question, and I think the Missouri litigation over this has some real legs to it, and would have, as you said, dramatic apportionment consequences.
And we've discussed birthright citizenship quite a bit on this program, including with U of C professor Richard Epstein, who argues that that it is not constitutional, that the interpretation that's being used, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, to uphold birthright citizenship is erroneous. What is your distillation of that matter?
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of heat for this. Actually, Professor Epstein and I are the only two law professors who wrote briefs in support of the administration's view on this. I do think it's quite more complicated. The traditional view is that anybody born in the United States or at common law in England was a subject of the kings, but then, what do you do with the exception for ambassadors, the children born of ambassadors and the children born of foreign soldiers? Like, why don't they count for birthright citizenship? And the answer, when it was precisely stated, was that those children, although born in the king's realm, in the king's land, were not born under the king's protection, and more specifically, even more precisely, they weren't born to parents under the king's protection. Ambassadors were within the allegiance and the protection of a foreign sovereign. Foreign soldiers were under the allegiance and protection of a foreign government that was sending them. And what I have tried to show in my work, that when you go back in the history to come under the protection of the king as a foreigner, required really one of two things: either a safe conduct, which is like this royal passport from the king that granted permission to come in and granted the person protection, or the statutes gave permission. Magna Carta gave permission and protection to friendly aliens to come into the realm of England unless they had been previously and publicly forbidden. The statutes of Edward III said that merchant strangers may safely and surely and under our protection come and dwell in our said realm. And so what I try to show is there's actually no evidence to suggest that if an alien had come contrary, without a safe conduct, and contrary to the laws of the realm, would that alien parent have been under the sovereign's protection for purposes of the birthright citizenship rule, right, such that their child would be a natural-born subject? And I think the answer is very complicated and probably not. And so everybody has been assuming that mere birth alone is what created this rule, but actually it was this concept of protection. And so at least to the extent that the Supreme Court cares about the common law history, which it may not, right? It may not. I mean, the federal government's brief really focused on the legislative history and how interpreters of the 14th Amendment interpreted it in the first few decades after. There isn't very much on unlawfully present aliens in that discussion, those discussions, but there's a lot about how temporary visitors were thought to be excluded. So there's a lot going on here. It's a very complicated issue. And so anybody who tells you, oh, this has been settled and it's a longstanding rule and it's open and shut, how dare anybody question the conventional wisdom? Well, you should never trust people who talk like that.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. So it would require some official designation. So you're here legally under a grant of asylum, for example. And then you say, okay, well, there's a legal designation, a formal issuance that you are protected in a way that somebody who is just here illegally, no matter how long, is not. And perhaps the Supreme Court would draw those sorts of distinctions.
Right. At common law, anyway, that was the relevant question. And also in the United States, there were cases like, in the War of 1812, we were at war with England, with Great Britain, and there were British subjects in America who were not part of any foreign force. Okay, but they were just living in America. And the question is, were they under the protection of the United States if their nation was at war with us? And so there was a case in New York. A very famous chancellor, James Kent, decided the case and explained that he said as follows. He said, a lawful residence implies protection and a capacity to sue and be sued. So as long as this English subject, even though his country was at war, was lawfully here and wasn't prescribed, wasn't told to leave, like under the Alien Enemies Act or by statute, right. He was under the protection of the United States. And as a result of that protection, was also subject to its jurisdiction. That's what gave him a capacity to sue and be sued in the courts and enforce our contracts. And so that also, will the Supreme Court look at all this? I have no idea, but it might. And so I just wanted to write, my brief to suggest that if you do look at the common law, it's actually quite more complicated, whether you agree with me or not. And I'm getting a lot of, vicious attacks on, from academic colleagues, which is to be expected. That's par for the course. But at a minimum, it is a far more nuanced and complicated issue than has been traditionally believed.
He is Professor Ilan Werman, Julius E. Davis Professor of Law at the University of Minnesota, co-host of the Rationally Based podcast. Professor Werman, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, Sha'Carri Richardson and her boyfriend in trouble with the law since the day they were born. Sports and Politics, 8:08. Now it's 8 o'clock on AM 560 WID Chicago.
Democrats get another seat in Congress. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, making the Republican House majority even slimmer, 218 to 214. Fox's Bill Malugin reports from the Capitol.
Texas Democratic Representative Christian Menefee just won a special election, and if Speaker Johnson swears him into Congress today, House Republicans' majority will be down to just one single vote. This, as Democrats are increasingly emboldened to fight DHS funding and ICE.
What is clear is that the Department of Homeland Security needs to be dramatically reformed.
That's Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries on ABC's This Week as Republicans work to end a partial government shutdown, maybe by tomorrow, providing funding through September. Except for Homeland Security, it only gets 2 weeks' worth in a compromise the Senate approved on Friday. A 5-year-old boy and his father controversially detained last month in the much protested Minnesota immigration enforcement. They've been returned home after a federal judge's order Saturday. And ICE came up last night at the Grammy Awards, where Fox's Michelle Polino reports Kendrick Lamar made history,
winning Best Rap Album for GNX and breaking Jay-Z's record for most Grammy wins by a rapper. He also took home Record of the Year with SZA for Luther. But the night's biggest winner was Bad Bunny, taking Album of the Year and Best Musica Urbana Album for DTMF.
I'm going to say Ice Out.
Clip courtesy of CBS and Recording Academy. Bad Bunny wasn't the only artist to speak out against ICE. British artist Olivia Dean, who won Best New Artist, and Billie Eilish, honored for Song of the Year for Wildflowers, also addressed the issue.
That's why President Trump posted on Truth Social afterward, the Grammys are the worst and was virtually unwatchable. It's Groundhog Day, and Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow in Pennsylvania, which means
6 more weeks of winter abound.
After a lot of snow and ice and frigid cold already, as they dig out from a big storm in the Carolinas over the weekend, and there are still tens of thousands of power outages in the South from the storm more than a week ago. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 13 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Chicago's United Center has become the first major U.S. arena to begin offering THC-infused beverages. Fox's Jeff Manasso has the details.
Starting next week, hemp-derived THC drinks will be offered for sale to guests 21 and over at the United Center here in Chicago for concerts and certain shows, though not during Bulls and Blackhawks games, all amid scrutiny of THC products. The Chicago City Council recently voted to ban most intoxicating hemp products while allowing beverage and topicals to continue. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
The man accused of killing a pregnant Downers Grove woman is in critical condition this morning. Authorities saying 19-year-old Natus Revucas has been hospitalized after he harmed himself at the DuPage County Jail on Thursday night. He's due back in court on February 18th, where he's facing several charges, including first-degree murder and intentional homicide of an unborn child. Meanwhile, family members of Morales and her unborn baby gathered for a memorial service yesterday afternoon. A second service is set for Sunday. 2 people are dead following an explosion at a home in Oswego on Thursday. Authorities say a gas leak is suspected as the cause of the blaze. Fire officials saying 2 other homes experiencing minor damage. And you might have seen it on social media. It's a so-called SOS house, an abandoned home in Plainfield that has porch lights that seem to be blinking SOS, which is Morse code's distress signal. Police say there's a simple explanation. They say the home's owner claims the lights are solar activated and they're simply flashing due to being defective or low on power. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The replacement for Disney's CEO could be named as soon as this week. But this morning, current CEO Bob Iger is celebrating earnings that topped estimates thanks to great results from theme parks and streaming. Disney shares are up about 0.75% in pre-market trading. Futures are pointing to a lower opening on Wall Street as investors are digesting the nomination of Kevin Warsh as President Trump's new Fed head. Precious metals could be stabilizing. Gold is up about 2%, $84, while silver is up nearly 7%, but still way off from record highs. Oil prices this morning are down $3 a barrel. And thanks to high consumer demand for beef and chicken, Tyson Foods reporting earnings that topped estimates. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Frank Lanza, invested in you.
On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquet and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson, and John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party. Sponsored in part by Stephen A. Leahy with Opum Tax Advocates.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
As we all live longer, age really is just a number, but retirement is so much more than one. Hi, I'm Nolan Webster, your Chicagoland Edward Jones financial advisor, and I want to know what retirement means to you. Together, we can look at the big picture and make a strategy to help you reach your goals, because you can't prepare for the unexpected if you don't know where you're headed. Call me at 224-801-6107. That's 224-801-6107. Or visit edwardjones.com to get started. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters. Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackbrook Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. We're open again on the Jane Addams westbound at Barrington Road. 2 right lanes are still blocked and it is jammed all the way back to Roselle Road. You're also stop and go on the eastbound side from Route 59 to Barrington Road. We're looking at 40 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the old post office. Outbound is 30 to Stevenson, 46 inbound from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound 38, 40 minutes inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 12. The express lanes inbound slow down starting at 51st Street to the Stevenson. No major delays on the Edens. The Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 25 minutes. Outbound is 16, and the express lanes inbound slow down between Montrose and Diversey Avenue. This report is a service of the Daily Podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the Daily Podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a few flurries in the morning, followed by mostly cloudy skies with a high of 28. Tonight, anticipate areas of low clouds with a possible flurry late as temperatures drop to a low of 18. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions and cold weather with a high reaching 25. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Sports and politics and sports and politics and sports and politics and intersection. Arrogance and ignorance. Arrogance, ignorance, and arrogance and ignorance. Intersection.
Yeah, this installment of Sports and Politics, we got a number of things, but let's start with the Winter Olympics. They kick off in just a few days. And I've got some bad news to report about the Winter Olympics. There are real questions about the diversity of the Winter Olympics teams from the West, Europe, America. Real questions. Does it reflect the populations and the population changes that have come to pass thanks to the open borders policies pursued by the neo-Marxists that used to be in charge of this country just a year ago and have been in charge of Western Europe for a while? The AP is on the story.
Immigration from Africa and the Middle East is changing the demographics of Europe's top winter sports countries, but that hasn't really translated to their largely white rosters heading to the Milan Cortina Winter Olympics. For instance, Team Sweden is almost entirely made up of ethnically Swedish athletes, which is hardly a reflection of the country's diversity, as Sweden has welcomed historic numbers of asylum seekers in recent decades. Experts point to social, financial, and geographical barriers and believe there needs to be a big cultural shift for anything to change. And research shows the single biggest influence behind children getting into and maintaining an interest in sports is their parents. For second-generation immigrants whose parents may be unfamiliar with the sport, young athletes may have a harder time garnering the support that they need.
My parents made me nervous because they felt scared. They felt maybe I was also out of place, maybe it's something dangerous, maybe it's something I don't belong to, but I proved them wrong.
There are also financial and geographical factors at play too. Immigrants typically live in major urban areas, away from skiing hubs in the mountains, and are in less privileged economic positions. Participating in winter sports can be very expensive. While some countries like Sweden offer programs to young children that give them access to free ski equipment and the slopes, experts also believe that more needs to be done by winter sports to improve accessibility, specifically for immigrants and underserved communities.
Underserved communities, yeah. We need more John Candies to sponsor more Jamaican bobsled teams and the like in Western Europe and America. Very concerned about the lack of diversity. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a Winter Olympic team from Sweden mostly being comprised of Swedes? I mean, is that really something that we should tolerate? 312-642-5600. Give us a call or a text if you want to express your concerns about the lack of diversity on the Winter Olympic teams in the West. Underserved communities, migrant communities. Were we providing the skis and the skates, the access, the bobsleds that would ensure that Winter Olympics teams represent the rich diversity of these nations? I do have some good news front. This is something you'll be able to take note of, cheer for the opening ceremonies, the torchbearers. Two of the torchbearers will be the two stars of the hockey film Heated Rivalry, which features two young dudes who are on rival hockey teams, but they are unable to contain their passion for one another. Yes, it's a gay love story about two hockey players. They have been selected as official torchbearers during the torch relay, carrying a torch metaphorically as well as physically, which will conclude on February 6th in Milan ahead of the opening ceremony. This is where, exactly where Williams, the two stars, Hudson Williams and Connor Story, exactly where they will be carrying the Olympic torch has not yet been revealed. Fill in your own joke there. Mm-hmm. This steamy romance follows two hockey players from rival teams who can't ignore their feelings for one another. In addition to that, it's not the only blow for diversity. You can cheer on Amber Glenn. She is part of the U.S. figure skating team. She will be, she's trying to become the first U.S. woman to medal in the singles in figure skating since 2006. And she is out as a bisexual and pansexual. She has acknowledged publicly that she is a bisexual and a pansexual. Pansexual, you're gender blind. You don't see gender. You don't see sex. The parts, apparently, you're oblivious to. She said, I thought, okay, this is my baby step, and barely anyone's going to see it. It was a local newspaper. It didn't stay local. The next day, it was like international news. Well, of course, because she's a celebrity. I mean, that's to be celebrated. Now, she's a bisexual and a pansexual. And so we have Amber Glenn to root for. So there's some more good news about the Olympics. Bisexual and pansexual. Double threat. Unlike Lori Lightfoot, the triple threat. Although, well, woman, but not minority. So I can only give her the two threats. I can't give her the third. Speaking of Olympic athletes, Sha'Carri Richardson, and this is where I actually am going to rally, I think, a little bit for Sha'Carri Richardson. Sha'Carri Richardson is an Olympic sprinter. She's a gold medalist. And she and her boyfriend are sort of like Bo and Luke Duke. They've been in trouble with the law since the day they were born, or at least of late. Her boyfriend is also a sprinter named Christian Coleman. And you remember last year at SeaTac, the airport. She was arrested and taken. This could also dovetail into Why Dan Proft a Single segment right here. She was arrested and taken away for beating up Christian Coleman at the airport. Yeah. Well, she has been arrested again. This time, I'm much more sympathetic. It's speeding / quote unquote reckless driving. Last year at SeaTac, it went like this.
So we're in a relationship. I will no longer mess with him or what he had going on. He has some stuff in his bag. I just need to get out of my bag. Okay. My iPad, some clothes. I can take it out, put it in my suitcase, brought his bag back. That's pretty much it. But we have a relationship, this, kind of thing going on right now. But yeah, exactly. But I brought his bag back. I took all of my belongings out. I would leave him alone. You don't have to worry about me. I have a flight coming up for myself. Like I said, I'm on the phone right now. I have all of my belongings, but you don't have to worry about me while I'm in the airport with him at all. I just have to get my belongings out.
Do you have your ID on you? And boarding pass by chance?
Yeah. Do you need my ID for what? If you don't mind me asking?
Investigating a possible assault.
Assault?
Oh,
Kristen,
I assaulted you. Listen,
Chris, I assaulted you? Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm just making
it's
sure.
It's not him that reported it. One of the TSA folks reported it.
Oh, one of the TSA people, because I can definitely have evidence of him assaulting me if possible.
Sure.
Okay. But like I said, yes, I do. My name is Shakira Richardson. I do have my ID. Yeah, but I will definitely leave him alone. There's nothing that I want to do with him anymore. Like I said, it was a relationship thing. I need to get my stuff out of his bag.
Are you guys on the same flight? Or?
We are later on in the day.
And they get, security footage that was made public of her beating on him and him sort of just standing there and taking it. TSA agent says some woman is beating on some dude. So come police.
He's a liar, and that was something that I kind of just grasped and emotionally. I'm just like, bet you do your thing, but you're asking me for things that is within my possession, and for my right, I don't have to give it to you because it's in my possession. But when it comes to the point that
she's a bit of a jailhouse lawyer, too, in addition to Olympic sprinter.
Are you serious right now?
Now she's getting arrested.
I didn't assault him, though.
We have video cameras.
I literally we were having an argument. I'm not resisting, so you don't have to do it harder. Christian, are you serious right now? Christian.
Washington State. He doesn't get a say.
But I understand. We were arguing. But I understand inside me.
Yeah, and so it went like that until she was carted away. Well, fast forward to a few days ago, Shakari Richardson was pulled over for going a little bit more than 100 miles an hour in her Aston Martin, which is easy to do. This is in L.A., and this is how that went between her and the officer.
I would wipe that smile off your face. I'm Sergeant McDaniels with the Orange County Sheriff's Office. You're being stopped for dangerous excessive speeding.
I understand my tire at the back is like literally on 29.
So you're driving at 100. Hold on. You're driving at 104 miles an hour in a 65 mile an hour zone with subpar equipment, flashing people to get out of your lights, out of your lane. Following too close, using every lane to pass everybody, cutting me off, passing a car on the inside shoulder with their hazard lights on. You're going to jail for dangerous excessive speeding.
I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do that.
Inside shoulder may have been a bit excessive.
That's why they give you a speedometer.
I totally understand. I communicate with you, sir. I really do not want to go to jail.
No, most people don't, but you got to think about that before you do the speed. I need your license, your registration, and your insurance. You were speeding.
Sir, I was, and I totally didn't know. If you look at my phone, my buttons right here, they jump around. My phone is sitting here, and it's slid on here. I literally see it's not even in normal mode, and I see that. My apologies. Please, I'm communicating.
The mode has nothing to do with your gas pedal.
No.
I need your license, your registration, and your insurance.
Please, sir, I really want to work. Can you really work with me, sir? I promise you, I am a law-abiding citizen. I have my ID, my insurance.
Well, sort of.
There was no intention of me speeding today. I promise you, sir.
Is this a good address for you, Lake Valley Drive?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I'm local, sir. Please work with me. I promise you.
I don't know what work with you means.
Not work with me. I understand that. I will take the ticket. I will show the
No,
court.
like I told you, you're going to jail.
Please don't allow me to go to Please, sir. Please.
Listen to me.
Please, sir. I really.
Nothing you say is going to change that. You are going to jail.
Sir, am I going to
106 and a 65. I mean, the passing on the inside shoulder, cutting off the cop, probably not particularly wise. But here's the thing about this. One, I mean, there are many among us who've gotten a ticket for being in triple digits. Not naming any names. Really, you have to take her in, tow the car. I don't know. Law-abiding citizen, well, I mean, except for just a few months ago last year when you were assaulting your boyfriend at the airport. But here's the thing. Christian Coleman, fellow sprinter, and her boyfriend, he was arrested during the same traffic stop because he showed up. And he had drug paraphernalia on him. And then he was... He was also arrested for possession of drug paraphernalia and resisting an officer without violence in Winter Park, Florida, on Thursday. So he's still with her, and they're sort of living parallel lives. She gets arrested in Orange County. He gets arrested in Winter Park. So that's one thing. How can this guy still? Okay. And then a fellow Team USA sprinter, Tawanisha Terry, received a ticket for stopping on a limited access highway after she pulled up to the scene wanting to know what was going on with her friends, according to an arrest affidavit. Oh, boy. So, yeah. There's that. David in Winnetka, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, hey, good morning. There's too many Shakaris in that last story.
No, there's a Shakari, there's a Tawanisha, and there's a Christian. And
okay.
Yeah. And they all were ticketed or taken into custody for one violation or the other. I mean, it's just there's a problem with the USA sprinting team that they better get figured out before the next Summer Olympics.
So the first clip you read, the gal, she mentioned about the DI and not enough people playing, Olympic sports, whatever. So she mentioned the word experts. These experts that beside all this, and I started thinking to myself that we really need experts in finding in Sweden the Swedish bikini team, because I haven't heard from them in decades.
Well, yeah, but it's. Yeah. Oh, you haven't heard from them. You want to see them again. Thanks for the call, David. Yeah. Well, all right. One more story. It's a soccer story. So I did want to get to this too. Maybe this will have a little bit more appeal, a little bit closer to home. Heather Bryant is a teacher in Park City, Utah. She learned that a Division of Child and Family Services, DCFS, worker interviewed her 3 kids after they got a call from a parent. DCFS did. Someone called DCFS to report overhearing a conversation between Heather Bryant's son and between their son and Heather Bryant's middle son. 2 8-year-old boys were talking about how Bryant's 12-year-old son, older son, had been rough with them during a neighborhood soccer game. That was labeled child-on-child physical aggression during play, quote unquote, by DCFS. The caseworker told Bryant that we want to reassure you your children are all clearly well adjusted and no further action will be taken. The investigation was opened without announcement and then it was closed. She was notified. She said, it was fear mixed with shock. Feeling betrayed by an anonymous mom made Bryant wary about letting her kids play with their friends. She only recently felt ready to write about this in an op-ed in the Park Record. This is Park City, Utah, as I mentioned. So again, a discussion of 2 8-year-olds about a 12-year-old, one of the 8-year-olds, the brother of the 12-year-old, prompted a mom to call DCFS, which then opened an investigation, unbeknownst to Bryant, the other mom of the 2 boys, and then DCFS subsequently closed it. The reporting, this is from Reason Magazine, about this, an intervention. When kids are over at her home, Brian says she gets a stream of texts from parents asking her to remind their kids to hydrate or eat a protein snack or not eat sugar. As a high school teacher, Brian says the impact on the students growing up this way. You ask them to do something, and I need to provide step-by-step instructions because that's what they're used to. They need directives for simple tasks. And it's, helicopter parenting taken to the ridiculous extreme. But, if you wean your kids on soccer, this is, the sort of helpless kids you're going to get. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Stay tuned for a special message from Angel Dad Joe Abraham about his daughter Katie.
Put yourself in my shoes. I just spent my first Christmas without Katie. My daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant Governor Pritzker protected. Imagine her final breaths, knowing that you would have given your life for hers, but you didn't have the chance. Put your child in Katie's shoes. Think of the unfulfilled dreams, the unrealized joys, and the permanent loss. I'm not a political guy, but when politicians unleash violent criminals, we all need to get involved. We can do better, and we must do better. Ted Dabrowski would have protected Katie, and he'll protect your children the way I wish someone had protected mine.
I'm Ted Dabrowski, and I approve this message.
Looking to purchase a new home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Don, trucker, 30, married to Mary, teacher's aide, 29, 2 kids, combined income, $125,000 a year. Call Team Hochberg to secure a mortgage on their first home. David answered all their questions, explained the funds required for a down payment and closing costs, then introduced them to an experienced realtor. Let's review. David answered Don and Mary's questions, introduced them to a realtor, and helped them secure a mortgage on their new home with a backyard they can build everlasting memories. If you're purchasing a new home and would like the same outstanding service as Don and Mary, call David now at 855-56-DAVID or visit 56david.com. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of AM 560 listeners, but he can't help you if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit him online at 56david.com. Don't take my word for it. Check out Team Hochberg's more than 700 5-star Google reviews. Hochberg, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061.
Listen carefully. Silver prices have experienced a historic surge, breaking above the $100 per ounce threshold for the first time, and industry experts predict silver could climb even higher. It's not too late for you to benefit from the surge in silver. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get our free gold and silver investment guide. Plus, you'll also receive a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Debt is rising, currencies are under pressure, and investors are looking for real assets, not paper promises. That's why so many Americans are turning to physical gold and silver with Advantage Gold. Historically, when silver starts moving, it can move fast and aggressively. This isn't about guessing tops or bottoms. It's about understanding risk and positioning before momentum accelerates. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000 and find out how you can get a tax and penalty-free rollover for a portion of your retirement funds for 2026. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Do you see yourself traveling, working part-time, or moving somewhere warmer when you retire? Hi, I'm Nolan Webster, your local Chicagoland Edward Jones financial advisor, and I want to help make your retirement goals a reality. Let's talk about where you are, where you want to be, and how we can get you there. Together, we can plan for the expected and make sure you're ready for the unexpected. Call me at 224-801-6107. That's 224-801-6107. Or visit edwardjones.com to get started today. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
If you're over 40 and plan to retire someday, the window to protect what you've built may be smaller than you realize. As retirement moves from someday to on the horizon, protecting what you've built becomes just as important as growing it. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. They help investors reduce risk by adding gold and silver to their portfolios. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before making investment decisions.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Coming up at 8:38, you've heard it advertised. Today is the day it begins. Talking about the real story with our friends Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. They'll join me at 8:38 to preview their new show, which is weekdays, 11 a.m. to noon. Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 24 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Several vigils were held throughout the Chicagoland last night for the man shot by ICE agents in Minneapolis. Protesters gathered at Edward Hines Jr. VA Hospital, where Alex Preddy was hailed as a hero who was standing on the right side of the law. Preddy had been employed as an ICU nurse at a VA hospital in Minneapolis prior to being shot by ICE agents during a protest. The man accused of killing a Downers Grove woman and her unborn baby is back in jail today. 19-year-old Natus Revucas was hospitalized Thursday after he inflicted injuries upon himself. He was released from the hospital and back into custody yesterday afternoon. Revucas is due back in court on February 18th. Officials say a water main break that left more than half of the residents of Dixmoor without reliable water service has now been fixed. The village of Dixmoor has suffered from bursting pipes for many years, as many of those pipes are over 100 years old, and officials say replacing them could cost upwards of $50 million. This report is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Prof University and The Sean Thompson Show, when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson, and John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party. Sponsored in part by Stephen A. Leahy with Opum Tax Advocates.
Chicago businesses. Your phone, internet, and IT should work well 24/7. But when it doesn't, who are you calling? At Overseas Help Desk? If you want clear, reliable local experts, consider Access One. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One has you covered. Access One is Chicago-owned, Chicago-run, and serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore and everywhere in between. We're rated top 5% in customer satisfaction, a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business, and trusted by law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. Let's talk about making your IT work well. Call 800-654-1555 or visit AccessOneInc.com. That's AccessOneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire? Retirement doesn't have to be complicated. To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence. Learn principles of income planning. There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring. Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560 The Answer.
When you can no longer handle your own home, Hearthstone Assisted Living at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights is here to help make life easier. Experience upscale living with comprehensive health services. We offer fine dining, engaging activities, available chaplains, weekly worship services, and quality amenities including a bistro, expansive library, and general store. For a limited time, mention WYLL for an additional discount. Call 847-595-5024 or visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Westbound on the Jane Addams at Barrington Road, cleaning up from an overnight accident and investigation. 2 right lanes are still closed. Delays start right around Roselle Road. On the eastbound side, it is stop and go from Beverly Road to Barrington Road. 43 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office, outbound 23. 43 inbound on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 36. The Dan Ryan is 38 inbound from 95th to to the Vernon Interchange, outbound is 12. Stop and go on the express lanes inbound between Garfield and the Stevenson. The Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Vernon Interchange is 30. Outbound is 12. The express lanes inbound slow down from Montrose to Ohio Street. This report is a service of Straight Talk Wireless. Don't let data limits hold you back from being the gift master in the family group chat. Switch to Straight Talk Wireless and get real unlimited data on Verizon's 5G network. Straight Talk, available at straighttalk.com or Walmart. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a few flurries in the morning with mostly cloudy skies for the rest of the day. The temperature will reach a high of 28. Tonight, there will be areas of low clouds with a chance of a flurry or two later on. The low will be around 18. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions and cold weather with a high of 25. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress, and AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. If they stole upwards of $19 billion in Minnesota, think how much fraud, graft, and grift is going on in Chicago and Illinois. Well, we may have our first indication. Federal prosecutors have filed charges accusing multiple foreign nationals of orchestrating elaborate Medicare and health insurance fraud schemes that built government programs and private insurers out of more than $1 billion through fraudulent claims for medical equipment and diagnostic tests that were never provided. Federal prosecutors charged a Kazakhstan national, Borat, with conspiracy to commit money laundering in connection with Medicare fraud programs. He's charged with the foreign national in question, apparently the kingpin, charged with taking control of a legitimate Kentucky-based company and using it to submit approximately $666 million in fraudulent Medicare claims for continuous glucose monitors and catheters between March and August of 2024. This guy entered the U.S. in May of 2023 on a summer work visa and never left, even though it expired in September of 2023. So we're just getting started. Court records show employee FedEx checks to addresses in suburban Chicago. One employee reportedly told investigators they once misplaced $1 million check issued to the company, later received a $2,000 bonus upon locating it. We're just scratching the surface, I have a feeling. These are the sorts of topics with particular local flavor that I expect you will find our next guest digging into. You know them well from these airwaves and elsewhere. Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson, they're the hosts of the new show for the weekday lineup, beginning today at 11 a.m., goes from 11 a.m. to noon, weekdays here on AM 560 The Answer. The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. Ladies, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having
us on, Dan.
Yeah. So Jeannie's on the phone right now. I'm in the studio, but we're going to be together, obviously, at 11 a.m.
Actually, I'm pulling my last batch of cookies out of the oven. Sorry.
Oh, wonderful.
For the grandkids.
Wonderful. Okay, Tammy, why not? All right. So now, Amy, I know this is a difficult time for you to launch a new show with,
Why?
Because your colleague and BFF, Don Lemon, is facing these legal travails.
I know.
I heard you screaming "Free Don Lemon" when he was arraigned on Friday.
Well, I'm printing up the T-shirts now, Free Don, and I have been texting with him, so I'm trying to get him to come on the show because, yes, we were friends, but he was always a bit of a diva. I don't remember when if you guys remember, when we both worked at Channel 5, there was a gang shooting in Park Ridge, and he got there with the crew, and he refused to get out of the live truck. And he said, I'm above this. We should be above this for local news. We are not going to report on a gang shooting. And I called him. I said, it's Park Ridge. Hillary Clinton grew up there. Harrison Ford. This is not the west side of Chicago. This is Park Ridge. So he wouldn't get out of the car. So Phil Rogers had to come and do the story. And he sat in the truck and read a book. So he's always been a little bit of a diva. But journalism 101, he has to know what the FACE Act is. And he didn't do it. because he's self-serving. He's trying to promote Don Lemon and sell his T-shirts and his mug, that have Don Lemon TV on it. And this time he's going to have to pay for his mistakes.
Even Fredo Cuomo broke bad on him too, saying he wouldn't have done it that way. He's not sure if it's rise to the level of illegality, but I mean, he's only a Yale law grad. It does, but yeah, he wouldn't have done that way either. I mean, I wonder if that Park Ridge story you relay, Amy, speaks to Don Lemon's animus towards honkies generally.
Oh, it was a gang shooting. That's all I can remember. And the victim was a Hispanic male. But now he's just always been a little different. But what made it worse is Keith Ellison, who's the #1 attorney in the state of Minnesota, didn't know what the FACE Act was. And it passed in 1994. But if you're in a newsroom with real journalists and real news directors, I remember them taking us in and saying, look, if you cover an abortion protest, they don't follow anyone into the clinic. You can't do that. If there's something going on at a church or protest where they disrupt a service, you cannot follow them in. You have to stay outside.
All right. So what else can we expect? Are we going to see one or both of you like at press conferences for Brandon Johnson asking difficult questions and things like that?
That is going to be me.
That's Amy's good. Amy can do that. But I do plan on going to the governor's budget address and reporting directly from there. In Springfield. So, we want to bring you the real story right there live as much as we can and bring issues forward that people just don't, there's not enough time in the day to actually cover all the stuff that should be covered at the state and local level in the state of Illinois. I mean, you can't do 4 hours of it, Dan, because there's so much else to cover at the national level. And so we're going to bring that to you.
Well, that's good. I mean, because there's like we know these things are out there, but they're just more difficult to get their arms around in Illinois than perhaps any other state because of the layers of bureaucracy and the obstructionist nature that of the political class that they get away with. I'm talking just about, for example, the story I led this segment with, talking about finally we get a fraud indictment in the state. We know these programs are being frauded to the hundreds of millions of billions, if not billions of dollars.
Well, one of our weekly guests that they're always going to be on are the Edgar County Watchdogs. Now, when I had my nightly program on Sunday, they were guests every single week, and people were alarmed and shocked by what the Watchdogs uncovered. Well, we're going to continue that because their work needs to be highlighted, and people need to replicate it in their own communities.
And also, too, today, the real story is going to have the real story behind Brandon Johnson's sudden executive order that he signed on Saturday morning and what really happened between them and the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. I'm not going to give it away. This is called a tease. So you're going to have to listen in at 11 this morning to see the real story behind that, because
we talked about that earlier in the program too. Is Brandon Johnson said he worked with the Eileen O'Malley, O'Neill, O'Shaughnessy, blah blah blah, and she said no he didn't. I mean, it's sort of like how does I'll be interested to hear how you think he gets over his skis thinking that she's going to go along with that when they clearly didn't consult her.
Yeah, there was a little bit of consultation. I'll save that for the 11 a.m. But all right. You guys are gonna want to listen in definitely at 11 a.m. and every day Monday through Friday from 11 to noon.
Yeah, and we also have Michelle LaFoya coming on, too, straight from Minnesota. What's going on? I'll tell you one thing. You set up a roadblock in my neighborhood. I'm following right through it. I'm not stopping.
With your freshly made cookies.
You mean like a roadblock, like an autonomous zone, like not like a law enforcement roadblock? Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, these citizen idiots who think that they can block the road, block me. You have to check me before I can proceed on my publicly funded street. Hell no. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and Tafoya coming out of the sports world, that's kind of fun. She is running for Senate, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
U.S. Senate, not for Amy Klobuchar's seat, but she's running for Tina Smith's seat. And we have a lot of questions to ask her, especially about the Somalian fraud and all that. So I'm looking forward to having her on. And I love her. She was always my idol. I always watched her growing up and wanted to be like her. Do you think that may make her feel old, Dan, if I ask her that?
Yes, yeah. Right. Yeah, I remember.
I grew up watching you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's.
No, yes. But I mean, later in the week, we're going to have Gordon Chang on and Steve Cortez and a whole line of great guests that will also focus on things that are happening here locally.
Yeah, Cortez has that new documentary on U of I admissions, right? That's what you're going to discuss. Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. So what about the Olympics, too? I know we were just talking about the Swedish team and the Associated Press. Yeah, the Associated Press is very concerned that the Swedish Winter Olympics team is mainly comprised of Swedes.
Wow, shocking.
And so I wanted you to weigh in on that as, a representative.
Well, I'm a Swedish princess, as you know, and have covered the Olympics before. But no, Swedes being Swedes on the Swedish team. Oh, I don't know. And when you grow up in Sweden, you learn how to snowshoe, you learn how to cross-country ski, you downhill ski. That's what people do for recreational fun. And if you're really good at it, then you join the Olympics. And they're not alienating anybody. This whole thing is so stupid, but the AP, they have to make it look like everybody's racist, everybody's bad, not only Americans, but now the Swedes.
Yeah, it should have a monarchical right to snowshoes if you break into Sweden.
But you did mention that book or the movie. What was it called? Heavy Petting? What's it called?
Heavy Petting?
Heavy Petting.
Yeah, I think it's High Sticking.
High Sticker? No, like some with the gay hockey players?
Yes.
What's it called?
Oh, my God.
It's called...
Mortal Enemies or...
No, it's Fire and Ice. I don't know what it is.
Love you, bro.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, so literally just got back from Italy because my son's studying there.
Oh,
and when I was in the hotel room, because I love to watch local news wherever I am, they were talking about Mamdani, his plea to people when the snowstorm came was that he said, everybody just stay inside because it's cold out, there's snow, and why don't you all read a good book, the gay hockey movie book. I'm not kidding you. And then the anchor tried not to, the gay hockey movie. Or watch the gay hockey movie or read the book about two star-crossed lovers on rival teams who fall in love and can't control their passion.
Yeah.
And then the anchor started laughing, and she was literally like biting her tongue. And I thought, oh, I didn't hear that. I mean, have you guys heard that here in America? Or did that just make the news overseas?
What if instead of reading the gay hockey book, I watched clips of the pansexual figure skater? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, it's heated rivalry, by the way.
Yeah, indeed it is.
But do you remember how controversial the opening of the Olympics were, a couple of years ago? And I wonder if they're going to do the same sort of thing, like all this sophistry towards the LGBTQ community. And who knows, are they going to do ice out stuff or what's going to happen? That's what I'm curious about.
Is Bad Bunny performing at the opening ceremony for that too, or just the Super Bowl? I don't know. Yeah.
Hey, he might be a last minute addition. You never know.
No, with the Swedish Olympic team though, what was I going to ask you about that?
I'll give you time to gather your thoughts.
No, you said you covered the Olympics before. I forgot about that. Did you cover the Olympics with Don Lemon, full circle?
He was not out there. I was with Marion Brooks and some other people, but Kelly performed. R. Kelly performed. And that was controversial because that's when it first started coming out about his nefarious actions against children.
Yeah,
but they still let him perform. But Marion Brooks got the exclusive interview with him. So then I had to get moved to cover something else. Whatever, long story. You don't need to hear the inside baseball. But the bottom line was they still let him perform at the Olympics because he wasn't charged.
If the native Sweden, skiers get ousted for some sort of Muslim that just showed up and got free lessons and all that, why they could just join the Chinese team like Eileen Fanggu did, right? The U.S.-born skier. She's representing the Chinese. Like, what the heck? Like, do they mean anything that you're actually from the country that you're representing? I guess it doesn't mean anything. You're just like the athlete for hire, right?
Right. Are they recruited? NIL. That's what I always thought. I'm like, why is this Sweden-born national playing for Norway? Oh, he's a Norwegian resident. Oh, how did that happen? Like, I honestly think that they're recruiting.
Boy, the acrimony between the Swedes and the Norwegians continues.
It's always been a hostile relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that is intense. That is intense. Okay, all right. What else are you guys going to do? Like any sorts of skits or role-playing games, or what else can we look forward to on The Real Story? Is it just going to be hard news and Don Lemon stories?
We're going to do Why Dan Proft is Single once a week. That'll be the Wednesday segment. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Like point counterpoint. It's not a bad idea. That's not a bad. Give the distaff side a chance. I like that. All right, Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. They're the hosts of The Real Story. Weekdays, 11 a.m. to noon, right here on AM 560. It begins today. Tune in. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
40,000 people. That's enough to pack Wrigley Field. I'm talking about 40,000 people who realized hip and knee surgery wasn't their only option. There has to be another way. Guess what? There is. They found it at QC Kinetics, an alternative to surgery. I know this because I've met these patients. They are moving better and hurting less thanks to QC Kinetics' advanced regenerative treatments. Surgery isn't always the answer. Do your research and talk with my friends at QC Kinetics. They offer natural treatments backed by real science. They will activate your body's natural healing power. Safe, natural, non-surgical. Osteoarthritis only gets worse, so don't wait. Get started this month. 40,000 people can't be wrong. Before you choose surgery, talk with QC Kinetics and tell them Dan Prof sent you. That's me. Call today, 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
Streaming services, retail chains, and tech giants are all adding plus to their names. It's fairly obvious they were inspired by Hassellus mattress. Hassellus showrooms are employee-free, plus unbeatable prices on Tempur-Pedic, plus free next-day delivery, plus 48 months interest-free financing on select Tempur-Pedic with approved credit, plus a $300 MasterCard gift card with your Tempur-Pedic mattress. Maybe we should change our name to Hassellus Plus. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassellus.com.
Hey, it's Scott Jennings inviting you to join me on the unforgettable Gulf of America cruise happening this November 2026. Imagine it, turquoise waters, white sand, beaches, incredible food, and insightful conversations about the future of our great country. Mike Gallagher and I will dive into the issues shaping America as we cruise through some of the most stunning destinations while honoring the 250th anniversary of our nation. Text cruise to 94878 or visit ScottJenningsShow.com and click the cruise banner to sign up today.
AM 560, The Answer.
Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
Before we get to that, a couple of texts on that gay hockey movie. Dave from Geneva. I think the title of that gay hockey movie is Through the Five Hole. Text from 630. Please tell Amy how happy you are to hear her voice on AM 560. Missed her. Can't wait for the new show with Jeannie and so on and so forth. A lot of texts like that as well. All right, I did. We'll get to it. We'll get to this. The issue of prenups. So this is becoming a thing, and why even deal with the hassle? This is becoming a thing even for the non-wealthy. Apparently, this is like a new cultural phenomenon. Even though I don't know, but people are staying single, not getting married until later in life. Vox.com has the story how prenups before marriage went mainstream. Long exclusive to the celebrities and the ultra-rich, they've trickled down to the rest of us. Half of U.S. adults say they're opening to signing a prenup, and younger people are driving the trend. 41% of Gen Z, 47% of millennials who are engaged or have been married say they entered a prenup, according to the poll. Part of it could be it's easier to draw up like a boilerplate prenup in the era of AI. You have influencers touting the values of prenup on social media and in podcasts. Young people are more likely to be the children of divorced parents and therefore more realistic about the possibility that their marriage won't last. I mean, these are all, really positive leading indicators of how this blessed union will go. And so that's not something that why even bother? If you have to do a prenup, why even bother? So that's me. I know you protect the downside. I know it's rational. I know it's logical. I guess you could just call me a silly heart because I just I don't know. That's just ugly business. And then you're off to this suspicious start, don't you think? Putting yourself behind the 5-hole, so to speak, if you know what I mean. And I think you do. Something else too, quickly. We don't have a lot of time to do my infamous segment that apparently the ladies are going to mirror from the female perspective. This, too, co-parenting. This is a thing now. Platforms that match partners in procreation are experiencing a post-pandemic uptick. So prenups, if you're getting married, no need to get married because you just partner with a person for the purposes of procreation that you're going to co-parent, but you're not going to marry. A co-parent doesn't need to be my romantic partner, said one Rave Reed, who recently went out to dinner with a man she met on the app. Over Italian food, they spent almost 3 hours talking about their values and goals. What are their views on politics and religion? Where do they envision themselves living? How many children do they want? Where would they want to educate them? And so on and so forth. Just working out this deal. She wants to have, she's 33. She wants to have a child before she's 36. And, she just wants a great teammate. Interest in platonic co-parenting is growing, with specialty apps experiencing substantial growth over the last few years. Of course they are. The year that Let's Be Parents debuted, which was just a little more than 2 years ago, they went from having 1,200 active monthly users to now more than 10,000. Co-Parents, another app, has 150,000 registered users, up from just 85,000 a few years ago. So we're done with the romance. We're done with the till death do us part. If you want a kid, just find somebody that, checks certain boxes, and then you co-parent from a distance. And you can cohabitate from it. Well, you're platonic, so you're cohabitating from a difference. Maybe that's part of what you would include in a prenup as well. Oh, boy. All right. We'll see what the ladies have at 11 a.m. in response to just a sort of surface skimming why Dan Proft is single. Thanks for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. It's great to have another local show in the lineup. Please do tune in at 11 for Jeannie and Amy. And tune in tomorrow for more of the rest of the day that was today. We start at 5 a.m. As per always, it is now 9 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Another big ice out.